Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 101, where we will cover Crossroads of Twilight, chapters 25 through 28. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined once again by my handy friends Willie.
101, are we talking about Dalmatians today?
Yes, and our other Dalmatian, Jody.
Handsy. Your handsy friends.
I said handy, you said handsy, but I mean...
Oh, no, misheard. My apologies.
I like handsy more.
Definitely hand.
Like,
yes, this is probably more accurate.
A more apt and accurate description.
So some pretty eventful chapters this time around. Hey, are you guys still bored, or are things looking up a little bit?
I'll tell you what, I've got Newspring. I've got it ready.
Okay.
I'm so excited for it.
Avoiding the question.
Political. That's very nice.
They say that
there.
when you deliver bad news, it's always good to start with something good. Deliver the bad news and then find something
Shit
good
sandwich.
again to end off the... Yeah, it's shit sandwich.
Yeah.
These chapters aren't bad. I think it's getting to the better bits of the book. It's kind of like, you know, when the tide has now fully reached high tide and it pulls back, you find little cool shit on the beach. But the tide is coming back in. Don't be fooled. It's only 6 hours away or 12 hours, whichever way it works.
All right. That is a nice analogy.
We're sort
Very
of getting
detailed.
It's very apt.
Yes.
We're getting some cool little gems now. Like we're wrapping up with Perrin for this book. We touch on Matt again. I mean, I think in the final episode there'll be another Matt chapter, and obviously the big event that we've alluded to and named outright a couple of times, the capture of Egwene still coming up. But yeah, like the end is in sight. I'm sure you guys are excited to see the back of Crossroads of Twilight. I'm hoping that maybe the early nature of New Spring, I don't remember much about it, but I'm hoping that like some of the action and sort of nostalgic elements of, you know, Lan and Moraine meeting and that sort of thing will help act as a balm to soothe the burns of Crossroads of Twilight. the wounds it's caused to you.
Some aloe vera for the skin.
Yes. Yes, some very
Puts the
non-toxic
lotion
aloe
on the
vera.
skin. I've started New Spring. We went glamping. I always get shit for that, for calling it camping.
You do.
I finished book 10, started the first 2 chapters of New Spring, which were awesome. I felt great. I had a smile on my face when I closed that book.
Nice.
Well,
You?
turned off the Kindle.
Yes.
On this camping trip, have to carry
Glamping.
stuff, take a tent
Yes.
out, nail in
No.
tent pegs,
No.
make fire, sleep.
Oh, we're
on
not
a
allowed to make
very
fire. It doesn't matter
uncomfortable-
where you go. No.
Really, hey?
Okay, no,
Wow.
that's not
No,
camping.
no
That's
fires.
just a hotel.
That's why I didn't say camping. I said glamping
No,
specifically.
that's a
twice.
hotel with sheet walls.
Also,
Yeah,
I don't know,
sheep
Joe,
balls.
like how well a fire would have worked considering the amount of rain that you showed us in that video.
So
you
much
sent.
rain. That video was when it lulled. We had to go inside. Even the like awning over the tent, the rain was splashing inside. We had to go sit inside eventually.
Wow.
And the kids had gone up to reception and they had like a games room there where they were just playing board games. We were separated for 3 hours. We couldn't. But we have walkie-talkies. So we were like,
Okay,
hey, you
cool.
guys okay? And they were like, yeah, we just
Awesome.
play games. Ordering
How
stuff
do
from
they
the barn, putting it on the
barbecue into?
tab.
So in 9 months, can we expect another little Funniverse?
I told Christina, I was just like, an idea popped into my mind, but it's way too cold. I'm not taking my clothes off. Fuck that. And
Amazing.
no
Amazing.
4th child on the way.
Okay. Back to pressing matters. I feel like at least with the end of Crossroads of Twilight sort of nearing now, there's a couple of cool things that are about to happen, which obviously we can delve into with more fervor in our next episode when we do the final episode for Crossroads of Twilight. But another thing that is about to happen is callbacks.
Yeah,
You got
I
me.
was expecting a little bit more.
I thought it was something cool.
Old jerk move, yes. No, it is not something cool. It is homework time.
Did Billy have homework?
No, I don't
feel
do
like he
homework.
did.
No,
I feel
mean,
like this exact exchange happened. We suggested he do some homework and then he quickly pushed back.
you go and join the queue of every teacher that has ever taught me at school and waiting for their homework.
Sounds like a thankless
Just go
job.
at the back
Still
of
waiting.
that queue because the grade 1 teacher's still waiting.
All right, number 1. Let's turn our mind's eye back towards our discussion around Paden Fane getting freed from Feldara by Inktar, which we have now concluded. I just kept thinking about it because, I mean, obviously I listened to the episodes again when I edit it, and then I actually give it a listen when it comes out again as well, just to sort of catch anything that fell through the cracks. So I'm hearing us talk about, the whole freeing of Paden Fane and the Trolloc script on the wall and who wrote it. Was it the Trolloc scholar and stuff? I just had a thought, Joe. Every time we talk about it, there's one little thing I want to say and I forget to mention it, and then I have to reintroduce it, and I bet you what's going to happen. We're going to talk about it now, and when I listen to it again, I'm like, oh, fuck, there's another thing I should have said. And in our next episode, we'll still be talking.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. So there's content for podcasts to come.
It is. So the thought that I had was that Fades are born of Trollocs, right? Mm-hmm. So they also speak Trolloc language and can write. Mm-hmm. So maybe it wasn't an actual Trolloc. Maybe Fane, who controls some Trollocs and Fades, carries some kind of authority over them. Maybe he had a Fade write that stuff on the wall, because we know there were Fades in Feldara at the time.
Yeah.
And we also know that he was specifically putting that prophecy on the wall to bait Rand into going to Toman Head. All the talk of watches on the waves and everything was to get Rand to go there.
I would like to expand on that, because maybe Fane has got his own baller, but is a Fade. We'll call him Faller. And he's well adept at blood writing on walls and all of that, and he takes notes.
Fades are intelligent, right? They're not the dumb sort of grunt that a Trolloc, a frontline Trolloc with catchpole and mismatched armor is. Like Fades are calculating.
Their brawn and their brute balance isn't quite aligned. I think they're a bit more brutish still, but I mean, if they were more clever, then they'd already have caught the boys and sent them to the grave.
What, the Fades?
Yeah, I don't think they're that intelligent. But I mean, I can give one of them benefit of the doubt for being like a good, like, clerk.
I think, intelligent enough to write.
Yes. I mean, they speak, they converse with people. They are, when I say intelligent enough to write on the wall in their native tongue. And I don't think that's a stretch at all.
No, I don't think that's a stretch, but I think it might be like a unique one. Like he, instead of going to like herd school, he actually went some...
Paleface Nargson.
Paleface Nargson carries an pot full of blood. Cool.
Is he still alive, I wonder?
I wonder.
Sure, man. I'll send you a photo. We rap all the time on the dark web.
Okay, let's move on from Fane and the Trolloc script. Vil, you were saying last time that there are a bunch of new maids acting like grandmothers, but I think Chessa's been Egwene's maid ever since she was raised as Amelin back in Saladar. So Chessa's been around for a while, but it made me think, like, who's Elaine's maid? Is that someone that we need to be paying attention to? And it's Isande, if you'll recall. She's quite a senior maid, and she's been there for a long time, and she carries quite a lot of authority. But what she did was she chose 2 more maids to help Elaine, and these are the 2 that are sort of like don't know so much about the dresses that Elaine and Amienda have to wear, and like sort of need instruction and stuff. They are 2 sisters, and the reason that they are brought in is because they are 2 sisters that Isande knows for a fact can't be spies, because of how innocent they are, and that she knows them and stuff. So I think the whole reason that RJ brought them into the story is to show that there are very few people, even in the palace household, that Elaine can trust fully. It's like she's surrounded by people that are potential spies.
Well, they keep finding as we went through. There's just always another one. Like, we just ferret them out, but we keep them around. So you can't really walk around the palace having a conversation like, "Hi, my princess, how are you today? Oh, I'm having a tough time. I'm carrying around babies."
Especially when there's even channelers around trying to listen in on conversations using the one power and stuff. Like it is, it's a treacherous place to say the least. Then we spoke about Gregorin, who was the steward of Ilion in Rand's absence. We were wondering, like, what is the council that he's a member of? It is the Council of the Nine. It is one of the governing bodies of Ilion. It shares governing power with the king and the assemblage. The Council of Nine meets in the Great Hall of the Council. It is situated across from the King's Palace in the Square of Tamaz, where you'll remember Rand and Bashir and all those troops arrived. The palace is identical to the King's Palace, even down to the lamps, but slightly smaller in every dimension. Do you remember that? The Council's palace is like right across from the King's, and it's just a smidgen smaller.
Yeah, we're not exactly as big as you are, but we are pretty much right there.
Yeah. Seems like eating weevils is not actually that bad for you. One website said that they can make you sick, but most others say that it's fine. Weevils do not turn into moths. They are beetles, so they remain a beetle and a weevil for their life. Pantry moths go from caterpillar to moth, as you would expect from any regular moth.
Or as you would expect from the name, pantry moth.
Yes, yes, but it's also like, specifically the beetles are the ones that we thought, like, what are the different stages of their life and everything? They're just beetles.
Right, so
well, I know for a fact that no matter what stage of life they are in, you don't want them in your pantry or in your cupboard or in your broom cupboard. No. Never. Nowhere.
Like you were saying, like a lot of the websites say if you've got a pantry moth infestation, basically get rid of everything. Like you're not going to
just burn the house down.
Wheedle them.
That's the best thing to do.
Righto.
Willie, you were saying that Chessa says she's onto Halima, that she knows Halima is a man. And I pushed back on that quite hard, but she does make a comment which has the word man in it. She says she feels like when Halima is around, she feels the same way she does when someone is sneaking up on her, or she realizes a man is watching her bathe. So it's that like real like invasive, like this is wrong. It's not just by accident. It is.
It sums it up completely right. It's exactly what's happening.
That's weird. That's disturbing. She has a feeling for when men watch her bathe. It happens that often that she's developed a feeling for it.
I guess that's how she would imagine it feels if she had to realize a man's been watching me bathe.
Go read Chessa's backstory. I'm surprised you haven't read this yet. She's
wild.
She's had
more fan fiction.
Life.
Then, Vil, you were also saying that you were wondering, like, you made a note that Egwene had received news from Rand and Nynaeve, but you couldn't remember exactly what it was. It's actually Egwene commenting on the nature of Rand and Nynaeve's dreams. Firstly, for Rand, the fact that they are shielded, and she's bummed out that she can't actually see or like enter into his dreams or anything, because Rand has like blocked off his dreams completely. And Nynaeve's dreams give her pause and a desire to, quote, put the fear of light into the fool woman. What could that be about? Like, what is Nynaeve dreaming of that is making Egwene feel like she's being a fool?
Maybe Nynaeve is dreaming of sitting on the Amberlin seat with a stole, and the whole stole is only yellow, and she's booted everyone else. Only the yellow's not right.
I think maybe something similar, but maybe more on the throne of Melchior, next to Lan. You know, like dreaming into like another reality in which Lan is the king of Melchior and she's the queen and that sort of thing.
Well, look, it would make sense that
might
Lan
think
would
that's
be
a foolish thought.
Yeah,
I have to assume.
Cut her some slack. She's not controlling it. Like, jeez. Fool for dreaming things.
Well, Egwene is young and also very much in control of her dreams. So, yeah, probably a bit harder than what she should really be. Yes, yes. Then there was a lot of talk about, as Willie coined it, the Usher Warders in the previous episode, right? Like, and that made me think, wow, there's only 2 with Rand at the moment, Flynn and Narishma. How many were there? So I went back. Rand took 9 Usherman with him after Dumai's Wells. Yeah, shocking, right? Joe, your face says it all. I was also like, what? 9? But they were Dharma Flynn and Narishma, obviously. Ibn Hopwell, who died diving at Halima and Arangar at the cleansing, not Grendel or Lanfear, like I said in the previous episode. It was when they saw Halima, it was Ibn who realized she could channel Saidin.
Jody, did you pick up on how well Moritz disguised that he said something wrong? He didn't call himself out. Not a callback. It's like I said. It's like just off the cuff, like a little correction.
It's literally what I just said.
Impersonal. A mistake was made.
Someone said Grendel or Lanfear.
Using the passive voice, yes.
No, I had said Grendel and Lanfear, but it was Halima. There's Fedwin Moore, who we know was poisoned by Rand, right? Like he was the one that sort of regressed to a childlike state. Grady and Neild, who Rand has sent with Perrin. They were two of the one that came with him. Carlden, who went with Loyal. And Jonan Adley, who was killed by Rand in the battle with Kalandor when he lost control in the battle against the Shawnchan. John and Adley had actually he'd also killed some of their own men accidentally during the battle, and then when Rand is wielding Kalandor, he kills John and Adley. None of those guys were full Ashaman. They were all soldiers and dedicated, and Taim said, you need to take at least one Ashaman with you, and then randomly Rand picks Deshiva.
The wrong one.
That's the 9. Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be the right one.
The wrong one.
Ultimately, he died.
Yeah. Got rid of him. He's off the board.
So all of those guys went on, as Joe correctly said, the deserters list, because that is what it was called. What I kept conflating it with, Jody, is the traitor's tree. There's a deserters list and a traitor's tree.
Traitor's tree is where their heads hang.
Deserters list
after
to go to the traitor's tree.
The Aiel wise woman with 3 husbands and 7 children who showed Sumiko and the girls the weave for caressing the child was in fact Monael, who also happens to be the wise one who led the first sister ceremony between Elaine and Avienda. So that's nice. So she was the one that led that ceremony, and is also now the one that's acting as the midwife. When Alviarin arrives back in the tower and notices a rat, she thinks the Great Lord's eyes riddle the tower now, though no one seems to have noticed that the wardings have failed. She did not think it was anything Messana had done. The wards simply no longer worked as they were supposed to. There were ... gaps. So doesn't seem like any kind of direct intervention by any person. It is just the wards failing. Shaidar Haran's clothes under his armor was made of silk or leather or something else. That's the sort of the description that was given of it, Joe. You thought maybe it was like human skin, leather made of human skin or something.
That's what I interpreted. That's something else. Like they went leather to something else.
Something else, yeah.
Telling you. Human skin,
If
bro.
it's the skin of a Jumar.
Jumara?
Worm? Jumara? No, what's the worm called? Jumara.
Jumara.
Jumara, yeah.
Yeah. It's like
He said
prove
authoritatively.
how hardcore he is. Like, look, I wear the battered asses things leather on my body.
Possibly. Let your mind free, Willie. Like,
we sort of briefly, as we do every now and then, sort of contemplate various people's power levels in the story. We were talking about Messana, about how powerful she is. At level 1 for the women, it is Lanfear, Olivia, and Semirag. They are the 3 most powerful channelers, female channelers ever. Then the level just below that is Sindane, so where Lanfear is dropped down to, still second highest ever. Equal with Messana, Talan, the Windfinder, and Sharina Meloy, the old novice. They're all at level 2, and only after them at level 3 is Grendel and Nynaeve. So Sharina Meloy is stronger than Nynaeve in the power. Yeah. And then the level below that is Margidian and Somarin, the Shaido wise one, who is shows even more bosom than what's her name? Savannah. With the long blonde hair, super tall, yeah. Willie, you mentioned that we learn about the death of Daigon's warder, but we actually already know about that death. So when they touch base with Daigon and stuff, the warder they're talking about is Ibn Hopwell, the one that died, saving them against Halima.
But there's just too many names. I just sometimes some of them just go over. Like I don't remember who you dating and who you like. It's like schoolyard
who
politics.
You bonded to, yeah.
Especially now,
and that's why I just rattle them off. Yeah.
Double bondings and triple bondings, and there's
bondings in different directions and double. Yeah,
I'm just waiting for the ghost and horse bonding. Little future.
It's coming.
And then the practice duel between Narishma dueling Lan in the courtyard. I know you were adding like a comedic flavor to it, like, you know, critical hitting Narishma the whole time and Narishma making whimpering sounds in the background. But it was specifically not that. It was Lan and Narishma dueling, and then Maurice has 3 warders, of which Narishma is one, and then another called Nethan and Basane. And when Lan bests Narishma the first time, Nethan stands up for his turn to duel Lan, but Narishma demands another attempt. He's sort of like resolute, like, no, I'm gonna beat this guy, and he keeps going. And then when Lan bests him again, not by critting him in the neck, but by stopping with the practice sword at his throat, Nethan again gets up to take his turn, but Narishma again stubbornly demanding, no, another go. And then the third warder, Basane, he's the one that chirps. He goes, he laughs out loud and he comments about overambitious men tripping over their own blades. And at that, Veren's warder, Thomas, and Dharma Flynn, they look at each other and just shake their heads. The 2 old guys, like, not placing any kind of value in this taunting and stuff. They're like, these whippersnappers don't know what real battle is really about. So it wasn't an usher warder flinging comments at Narishma. So he was stubbornly persisting.
It's just a regular old warder.
Yeah, regular old. And then Nynaeve, you know, you were talking about Nynaeve taking bets and stuff, like sitting there. She was quite animated in how she was watching Lan doing the dueling, and like to the extent that she was like miming out some of the moves she thought he should be doing, which Catswain is busy observing and just going, fool girl, like, just you aren't ready to be Aes Sedai yet.
Oh, maybe that's what she was dreaming about, herself as a warder or using a sword.
Maybe
she's learning she knows the moves now. In her dream, she's the one that's the sword
River
master.
undercuts the bank.
Yeah,
then the last one here is for you, Joe. Loyal's dad was not the leader of Steading Shangtai, but Arendt, who is Loyal's dad, Loyal son of Arendt, was an elder of Steading Shangtai, as was Elder Haman, who happens to be Loyal's uncle.
Is Elder Haman the leader? He's the head.
No, there isn't a single leader. There are elders, and both Arendt and Haman are elders at Steading Shangtai. Okie dokie, that is it for pedantry from my side anyway. So let's shift to some pedantry, and actually it's not a lot of pedantry, it's more congratulations on 100 episodes and that sort of stuff from our listeners in listener contributions. First off is Marlene, who writes in on the topic of Halima, which, sorry Marlene, I already sort of stepped on, but she says, in chapter 19, I have to call out my girl Chessa, who nails Halima. There's something just not right about that Halima. It's like feeling somebody sneaking up behind me, or realizing there's a man watching me bathe, or she laughed, but it was an uncomfortable sound, just not right. Appears Halima doesn't murder her because she's not anyone's spy, versus the other 2 maids that he disappeared. Yes, I'm not using his current pronouns. He's a fraud, lol.
You go, Marlene. Don't hold back, man.
Oh,
tell us how you really feel.
I'd forgotten about Lelaine and Ramanda's maids that also used to work for Egwene that were murdered, but somehow Chessa is obviously not a target for Halima. Just doesn't seem threatening.
I don't know. Just Chessa's maybe just too hard to kill. She's
It's
not
just
the
like
first
a
time someone's
solution.
trying to assassinate her. Yeah.
Then Jonna Pierce sent us a nice, long, meaty message saying, hello Mo, Jody asked how we found you, so I felt the need to share. Story time, all caps. First, I'll throw in a little background on my Wheel of Time history. I started to read the series the first time back in high school about 20 years ago now. Literally my 20th graduation reunion is this year, and I'm not going to go, lol. And I fell in love immediately. I love long books and magic, and this whole world absolutely captured me. I've read them over and over at least 5 times. The first one I had to wait for was book 12, and I reread the others every time a new one came out. So I've read the first 11 more than the rest. This has been my favorite series pretty much since I read the first one. The only issue I have is there was never anyone to discuss it with. I've tried to get a few of my reader friends into it, but it's too long and wordy for them, so they claim. That's what led me to looking for a podcast. I found your show all the way back in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic, if that's convoluted enough. I had been working from home and had started a reread of the series just on a whim. I had never really listened to podcasts nor audiobooks, but Audible was doing a free trial, and I, of course, being me, used my first free credits to get the first 3 Wheel of Time books. The podcast idea had been floating around for a bit, and wanting a discussion on the books, I thought maybe I'll give it a go. So I just searched for a Wheel of Time podcast. I actually tried 2 others first. This is a remarkably common phenomenon, by the way. Both were a new reader reading with a person who'd read the series already, and the discussion just didn't work for me. I don't think they were bad, really, just not for me. I almost gave up, but I found your podcast and said, well, one more try. I've been a fan ever since. Since you've all read almost all the series and spoilers are a thing you don't worry as much about, it's more fluid of a conversation. I love your format and the banter, plus you actually respond to listeners, you ask great questions and do all the research, etc. to make this whole thing an experience. It's really great. I still don't listen to any other podcasts, though. I've tried a few more. Since no one I know reads the books, I've not recommended you to anyone in real life, but I have recommended you on other platforms. A bit more detail than a poll would have given you, but the short poll answer is a simple search in Audible. Anyway, back to the show. We'll write again soon. Jonah.
Here we go.
All right, sweet.
Amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, no, thanks for the detail. We really appreciate it. I mean, this is the place to share details.
Yes.
We're not really into
detail.
Come to the right place.
What's that?
Yeah.
My experience was the same. I don't know about you guys when trying other Wheel of Time podcasts. Like, unless they are full spoiler, it doesn't really resonate with me because I can't put myself in the shoes of a person that hasn't read everything. You know, like it's so limiting. So yeah, I'm glad that it's resonating with other people.
To any podcasts related to books at all.
The one I used to listen to was
I just
Podcast
don't
of the
like
Dragon.
people to have opinions, and I want my opinion to be best. And I
He only
think
listens
they
to his
were
own
wrong,
podcast.
so I just did my own.
Yeah. It's the best one.
And also what I wanted to say to John is the listener contributions section is, and callbacks sort of like happened organically. It's not something we set out to do at all. But I mean, by virtue of us like misremembering a lot of stuff, we get a lot of people, you know, like even starting the series now, I get emails from people that are around like episodes in the early 30s. And like we've read some of them on here where they're like, "Ish, you guys were like way off with this thing." And then I have to go either like, yeah, cool. We address it like a couple episodes later or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it was a necessity, right? Like we had so many questions, we just couldn't remember stuff. So the to and fro with the audience, with, you know, some of our regular contributors is awesome because it really fills in all those little cracks, which is awesome.
I think that is
So thanks, guys.
It's a broader discussion. It almost becomes a bit of a community discussion, which is great. Because
100%.
the last thing you want is just someone blabbing things at you.
Yes.
The wrong things as well. Like
Yes.
when you
Things you
know that
disagree
they're
with.
wrong.
So
It's like
I
shouting
think
at your podcast player.
that
Just right in.
accountability to have ourselves checked and to
Yes.
check ourselves. Well, look,
Ooh.
I don't check anything. Moritz does all the checking. And
Dude.
if
Even
I'm
when you
checking.
say you're going to, you don't. I'm sure there's something missing. Or
Yeah.
did you say, Billy, that you're gonna review something at the end of the book? You're gonna tell us.
I am actually still busy with that, and I'm making
there is a thing,
constantly
all right.
notes about this because this, and I might give you a little bit of insight to it. A lot of,
Ooh,
I say a
no,
lot of
Vil,
writers,
actually, I'm going to stop you there. Save it
Okay.
for our last
Okay.
episode. We're going to have a big old chat.
okay. There we
So
go.
I think that's because we don't actually have that many chapters left after this. I think there's only 3 chapters left, so it's very
Yeah,
short.
yeah.
So like we're going to have a lot of airtime
2 and an
to
epilogue.
talk. Yes, exactly. So we're going to have a lot of airtime to talk about all these observations that you've made in this.
Billy was about to get into it.
I
as well.
know.
I was like, okay, cool, sitting
And
upright. Like, let's
Sure.
go.
I'm
Jumping at the
excited
bit.
for it. I'm excited for it. I just want to save it for like the big finale, which I think
It is the next episode, yeah. So
exactly. Yeah,
one word
and
to
it's
say.
worthy.
Okay.
And the only thing is my thinking and my time and my reading and research has been totally hijacked by a different topic of late. That's Bigfoot. I'm just into
Life
Bigfoot now.
intervened.
Bigfoot. He's just super
Bigfoot.
into Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, Sasquatch, the
Bigfoot's
big
real.
hairy ape that lives in the bushes that people say are real and others say are not. Man,
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah.
I'm just so intrigued
Interesting.
at the moment. It's a real life Ogia. Think about it like that.
Well, talking about hairy apes living in the forest.
Moving on.
I was about to throw one of our favorite listeners under the bus and liken him to a hairy ape living in a forest, who is our favorite New Zealander, Gerald, who also writes in. I take that
Gerald,
back, Gerald.
This is a sign of respect. You have now become close. You see,
the Kiwi accent is thick on that one.
Well, we'll be privy to the Kiwi
it.
accent at the end of this message. Now, Gerald sent in 4 emails and a voice note, so it's time for our subsection called Gerald Time.
Messages from the hairy ape.
Gerald starts off with, Happy Sunday. I'm just listening to the latest podcast and realized there are a few things I meant to get across from the last couple. I'm in the middle of vacuuming while listening, and I thought I would stop to get these emails out while things are on my mind. Oh, thanks, Gerald. I mean, that's a great honor to interrupt your vacuuming. 100 episodes. Well done. I still remember when I first found the podcast and spent every driving hour listening to it to catch up. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. Only 5 more years to go. All right.
Ouch.
Gerald starts with a heavy hitter, The Slog. I, like many others, felt The Slog during the first read. In fact, it is most of the reason I stopped reading after book 8 was released, and only started again a couple of years ago when I bought all the remaining books and read through the whole lot. But I have some thoughts. The best fantasy books are those that build a world that you can believe or maybe understand, one that you feel part of or emotionally engaged with. Tolkien was great at this, as was Eddings, J.R.R. Martin, Brooks, C.S. Lewis, James Herbert, etc. Jordan did an awesome job of building up the Wheel of Time world with his descriptions and character building. I think we all have emotional connections into the world and the characters because of it, but there is a fine line between getting your readers to make that connection and going into too much detail, and The Slog is maybe where he crossed the line. As you've mentioned, the information about the Camelin politics was just too much and maybe went on too long. Maybe RJ was trying to get all the disparate storylines to meet at a suitable point, and I couldn't think of a better way of doing it. Hence, some things just take too long, all in caps. Obviously, The Slog will form a topic of our conversation in our next episode, so we can finally put that whole thing to bed. Interesting that Gerald is one of the people that also thought that The Slog started around book 8, like stopping after book 8, which was never my perception of The Slog, really. I always felt like book 10 was the very obvious low point. But Gerald is certainly not alone. A lot of people lump even book 11 into The Slog from 8 until 11, which is pretty aggressive. But, we'll see. Maybe it deserves it, yes. And yes, Gerald, I mean, the entire concept of The Slog to me is exemplified or maybe condensed and distilled into all those Andorran politics, which is why I spent so much time like trying to actually understand it and getting a clear picture of it in my head so that it isn't just this like gray wall of text that just like, I bash my head against all the time. So yeah, get it. Then, second point from Gerald. I've just heard the info about the wards that are failing. A left field thought is that this is now the slow demise of Saidar Saidin as the world turns slowly back to a time when there isn't magic, like the age we are in now. The wheel turns, etc., and the ages come and go. We need to go through the decline of magic through the advent of science and then go back to magic again so the bite can be rebored into the Dark One's prison. I wonder if he meant the word bite, but I get the idea, so that the boar can be rebored. Maybe Gerald is typing on his phone while vacuuming.
Yes.
The Dark One turns a man into a woman and they get into the Aes Sedai rebel camp where no one can detect they are channeling and the best they can do is cause headaches. I think they missed a grand opportunity to do way much more than that, and RJ should have maybe thought that one through a bit more. I'd have to agree. Like, Arangar achieves very little in their time with the rebels, right? Like, maybe their instructions
in the ambulance seats tent every night.
Yes,
and then
but maybe
nothing.
My sort of devil's advocate response to that is maybe Arangar was tasked with just keeping the rebellion going, like not letting the tower reunite, because a split tower is obviously better for the shadow. That's the only bone I can throw them. But like, I mean, okay, they murder a couple Aes Sedai and a couple maids and stuff, but they really don't do much of anything other than that, right? So yeah, missed opportunity for the shadow for sure.
Put beside the fact that people get lazy, and they don't feel like working, and this place there to work. So some days you're just like, okay, now I've got to cram it all in the last 8 hours, like Joe does, and
Like Friday.
and we then decide, okay, damn, now got to show up, rock up, kill this, kill that, do that, and because I left too much too late, I get killed in return. So hard work and good ethics pays off, like work ethic, and they just didn't have it.
They don't have a work ethic, do they? That is not.
Well, you sit around for 3,000 years doing nothing, then you kind of get lazy, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't remember how Halima is killed.
Just call it balefire from Perrin or something.
From Perrin.
I'm going to put myself out there and take a guess. I think Halima goes to Graendal's castle in Aradoman when Rand balefires that whole place. I think that's it.
I have no memory at all of any of this. I know Halima dies, and I'm going to say Ramanda does it.
No, Lilane.
Okay.
Redemption arc. How far off are... Let me try my words again. How far off are we to our listeners is my question.
Oh, this will be a callback for me for sure. Like, it's actually very quickly Googleable right now.
No. Do the work later. It remind us about it in a fortnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
To all the other listeners who don't remember either, what are your guesses? Write in. Tell us.
Best guesses. Best guess wins a T-shirt.
There you go.
Okay, Gerald continues. You were talking about Sashal and her oath to Rand. Being pedantic, I'm not sure you made it clear that because of her stilling when Rand broke the shield on him at Dumai's Wells and the healing by Dharma Flynn, she isn't bound by the 3 oaths anymore. So the oath of fealty to Rand isn't really worth the air it was spoken with. It's basically just a promise, correct? Or did those Aes Sedai who swore their oaths to Rand do it on an oath rod or were bound to it in some other way? We did touch on this. We specifically said that, Sashal is not bound by the oaths and is in charge in Kyrian. So that's like pretty dangerous. But she has sworn fealty to Rand. None of the other Aes Sedai used an oath rod, but because the Aes Sedai can't lie, because they've already got the 3 oaths in place, when they say, I will do this thing, you have to believe them because, they have to speak the truth. It doesn't hold them to it, but in the speaking of it in that moment, you can trust that what they're saying is true. So there was no oath rod around when they swore fealty to Rand, and it basically is just a promise. But like in this world, those oaths are held with, some level of severity.
That was my comment. Now is that people take oaths very, very seriously in Randland.
Yes.
It's like by my life and hope of rebirth, and it's like it's serious. Like the one that Swan makes to Gareth, like she holds to it. Even though she also doesn't have the oath rod, or she's not Aes Sedai anymore at that time. But it rules their lives. They're very, very... They take it seriously. Except, of course, for Vili's cronies.
Yes.
Yeah, but we've got like a backdoor clause. It's like a bad contract. The contract, it's got to be watertight. You got to look at the fine print. You got to put it in there. And if it's not there, hey, you get out of it. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Just
so,
air.
Worst case scenario there, Gerald, is that Sashal was lying when she made the oath, which she would have been capable of doing because she wasn't bound by the oath rod. But she's not Black Arja, so I don't think she would lie about something. Her oath, I think, stands.
They also have a reputation to uphold. If she gets caught breaking an oath, this is bad for all Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
And for her personal reputation.
Yeah. All right, so another point from Gerald. I was re-listening to the latest show on the way to work this morning and a few more thoughts. Also, as an aside, I'm driving to work at the moment and dictating this through Siri, so I'm not sure how good the spelling will be. And it's 5 degrees here in Auckland. A fine blue sky Tuesday morning in late autumn. Or for those in the US of A, it's 41 degrees and late fall. That concludes the weather report from Gerald. First, how much of a difference would it have made if Rand had gone back to the Black Tower right now when Logain is talking about what is going on and done a big balefire and get rid of Taim? What is it that Taim does in the future books apart from turning into the new Chosen? and fighting at the last battle and being smashed by Egwene and turning all those Ashaman and Aes Sedai to the Shadow. Do you guys remember?
Besides all of that horrible shit.
It is a lot.
That's pretty substantial stuff that he does.
There's also one other thing that is pretty significant. Do you recall?
I don't
Willie,
recall.
you probably won't know this. He uses Sakanen, which we know is the second most powerful Sa'angreal in the world after the Kuden Kal, so more powerful than Kalendor even. And he just weaves balefire all over the place. And reality is crumbling around everyone. Like they are shredding the pattern during that final battle. And that's all Taim with Sakanen, I think.
You mean you didn't look this up before this?
Well, I'd like to create a callback for myself. But that's what I remember.
All right.
Like Taim.
It sounds awesome.
Demandred gives him Sakanen and he just goes buck wild with the balefire. And what triggered that memory is Gerald saying being dealt with Egwene, because Egwene does a special thing to counteract that.
Yeah.
Gerald also says, I had a bit of a chuckle when Joseph was asking what the Dark One's name was. Also, I like that Gerald is calling you Joseph, which is not your name. This is what I call you. It implies that the Dark One is a person that has turned into the Dark One, that the Aes Sedai in the Age of Legends discovered his prison and tried to release him, accidentally as it was. You're a funny man, Joseph.
His name was Charles.
Yeah. And then he asks, how is it that Lews Therin can wrest control of the power from Rand if, as discussed, they are the same person? It's not a split personality type thing, is it? Spoiler alert. Yes, it is. I thought, especially after we lose Emo Rand and get Super Chilled Rand in Towers of Midnight, is proven that Rand and Lews Therin are basically just the same person. So how was it that Lews can wrest control of the source from Rand? It is a split personality thing. Rand is Lews Therin. He's got all his memories and everything. He is one person, but he's created another personality in his mind to sort of account for, all those memories and things coming back. So they are competing distinct personalities in his head, even though they're actually the same. But like any person who has a split personality disorder, right? Like they are still the same
question.
person.
If you say so.
If Rand and the split personality, we call that schizophrenia, I think.
That's not
two
technically
different
what
things.
schizophrenia is.
Okay. Like I said, I think things wrongly. Either way, I know there's medications for all of these conditions.
Mhm.
So if Rand took some medication, he would not have had this difficulty fighting Lewis in his head.
Probably not.
Or they would have merged sooner. He would have been Chill Rand sooner.
Maybe.
Or he would have killed off and only had half a personality and lost the last battle.
Or Rand would have gone away.
One of
and
the
it
two.
would have
Those
only
are the
been
only
Lewis
two
left
concrete.
behind.
That could be.
Outcomes.
Yeah. Rand could go away and he'll be just Lews Therin. That's a
That
possibility.
would be bad.
And I think that's kind of like the underlying threat here, right? Like Lews Therin taking over the power, from Rand and sort of like taking over maybe. Yeah.
It's like, I need to be in control. You don't know anything, sheepherder. I should be the one dealing with this.
I mean,
I
I want to
screwed up
finish
last
what I
time.
started.
Yeah, I've got some. dirty
I've got
laundry.
some things to wrap up, like the world.
He's got some vacuuming to do. Yes.
And then the last message from Gerald is, finally, as for what the two Amelin seats say are their requirements for any reconciliation between the two Aes Sedai factions, only Egwene gets her demand in that Elida is no longer an Aes Sedai, and she is taken by the Shornchan during the attack on the tower and whisked away. So technically she's retired, quote unquote, and disappeared. She's gone into exile. Yeah, I guess you could put it that way.
Right.
Then Gerald and his lovely Kiwi accent can be heard in a voice note that goes a little something like this.
Hey guys, Gerald here from sunny New Zealand. Just wanted to give you a quick belated congratulations on reaching 100 episodes. It's a great milestone, and I look forward to having you three in my ears for 2 hours every fortnight for the next however many episodes it takes to finish the series. Well done. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
All right. Well, thanks, Gerald. Thanks for all your contributions.
Cheers, mate.
And your message of congratulations.
Good
What
on
was
ya,
that, John?
mate.
Was that
Billy,
Aussie?
Willie, do your Kiwi accent.
No, I can't do a socks. What's it? I'm gonna hit it for a socks. I'm gonna have a bee out on the dick.
Lee Ray writes in with some stuff from our distant past, like Lee's catching up. I found your podcast about a week ago and have been eating them up, but it wasn't until episode 46 that I knew I had to write in.
A week.
46 episodes in a week. Well done,
Wow.
Lee. Yeah, it must be like double time or something, and I don't blame him. I've got several things to mention. My comment, uh-oh.
There we go.
Okay, so Lee goes, Swan sweating. It's not of the power, but Swan could not maintain the concentration needed to keep from sweating. And then it sends the quote from the passage. I think it's while they're traveling with Logain and stuff. And it sounds like
Trapped in that house awaiting
Yes.
trial.
Yes,
for Gareth.
yes.
I remember.
Sounds like a rookie error on
Shit.
our part. Maybe we were wondering why Swan was sweating at all if it has nothing to do with the power, which is vaguely what I recall. But yeah, I think we actually comment on that later. We spend time talking about this sort of stuff. Avienda's bath. Villy had it right. Avienda was wet and glistening from head to toe. Do you remember this? Like,
Wow.
I think it was in... Is it in Shadow Rising or somewhere? They're in the Aiel Waste, and Rand walks in on Avienda, and she is standing there. And I think Villy made a big song and dance, as is his wont, about like what she looked like. And maybe I gave him a hard time for it. It sounds like me as well. But Lee's saying, yep, no. The passage is, she stopped to swallow, big green eyes locked on his face. I could not make a sweat tent in here in this town, so I thought I would try your way of... She was hard muscle and soft curves. She glistened damply from head to feet. He had never imagined that her legs were so long. Then Lee also says on Min's viewing, you never mentioned the vision that Min has of Swan and Gareth Bryan. So is the whole passage is here, but it basically boils down to Swan and Gareth have to stay together, otherwise they'll die. And I do... admittedly sometimes gloss over some of the viewings from Min and even some of Egwene's dreams, etc., just because I feel like we already know what they're alluding to. Like on a second reread, a lot of them are pretty obvious. Matt, knocking over the skittles and stuff with the cannons and that sort of stuff. And if it's not too obvious or interested, then I'll go look up the meaning, or if it's downright unknown to me, I'll go look up the meaning. As for this one, they do actually die when they separate. They save each other's lives at one point, and Swan thinks that fulfills Min's viewing, but it wasn't done yet. When Swan is killed, Gareth goes into a warder rage and is killed as well. So like late, I think it's in the final book, Min sees Swan without Gareth, and she's like, what are you doing? Like, you guys are supposed to be together. She's like, but we already saved each other's lives. That's already fulfilled. And Min's like, no, the thing is still gonna happen. And then Swan is killed and Gareth dies. So as always, 100% hit rate for Min.
Yeah.
Then Lee also says, Swan's plan for the Red Archer. My theory for Swan's plan for the Reds is that if they tell everyone about Reds putting men up to channel as false dragons, they can undermine the support for the tower because there are no Reds in Saladar. They all stayed in the tower with Elida. I agree. I think we spoke about that, but that's absolutely what she was trying to do. Lee then says, keep up the podcast. I love hearing you guys put all the pieces together for us. Thanks. Lee Ray from Tennessee. Thanks, Lee. After that, Lee sent in some more messages on Facebook. 2 more. In episode 50, why can't they teach Rand about Tel'aran'rhiod? Firstly, he's not a dreamer. Secondly, the only Ter'angreal we know of are in the hands of Saladar. Besides, we don't know if any of them will work for a man. I mean, those things are all true, but I don't think any of them preclude Rand from learning what things in Tel'aran'rhiod are. Nynaeve observes Rand fighting Ravin in Tel'aran'rhiod. I think that's maybe the episode that this is coming from, because Rand is in there. Remember, Rand starts turning into like a beast, and there's all kinds of weird stuff that's happening. And I was saying they should teach the Dragon Reborn about this place, because he goes there in the flesh as well. So the Ter'angreal don't matter, because he can just go there. And you don't have to be a dreamer to manipulate things in Tel'aran'rhiod, right? Like everyone.
Walker, yeah.
A dream walker as well. Yeah, that's an important distinction. Thank you, Jody, for preventing another callback. But even dream walkers don't need to. Like, dream walkers are very good at manipulating their own bodies to enter Tel'aran'rhiod with, on purpose, instead of like just dreaming themselves in there by mistake, or being pulled in there by someone else, or creating a gateway to get there. And Dreamwalkers are also exceptionally powerful generally in Tel'aran'rhiod. But you don't, I mean, there's a whole bunch of Aes Sedai that eventually use the Terangrial, right? That go there and get themselves in trouble and that sort of stuff. So it certainly would help you survive it a lot easier. But I still think
love the
someone
depth
should
that
tell
you're
Rand what's
diving
happening
into
there.
this question.
Yeah.
But the question was quite simple and clear and said, why can't they teach Rand how to yada, 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 yada? Because you can't
No.
teach Rand anything.
Just
He does. He's
about
too stubborn.
Tel'aran'rhiod.
There's no teaching. There's no stubborn, wool-headed, nothing.
It's untrue. I mean, he is stubborn and wool-headed. That is true. But he is a
and you
voracious
can't teach him.
learner. Like, he's constantly
yes.
looking for things to learn
Luz
from.
should know
He
something.
teaches himself. He doesn't listen.
Yeah, he's
he
got all the
teaches
information
himself.
already.
Yeah.
But there's somebody should tell him, even if he's not going to use it. Knowledge is always good to have.
Communication, the age-old problem,
Yeah.
right? There's just no one's talking.
Send him a pigeon with the information in a scroll
I
tied to
was
its
just
legs.
going to say that.
Lee's last point here is a very interesting one and a cool one that I hadn't considered. But the blades from Thakandar, so those swords, I always thought that the souls of the prisoners were being sucked into the blades, which is what made their voices sound like they're fading away. You guys remember that phenomenon? Like it sounds like very quickly going away. So like into the sword, that's a cool idea. Now, if they have to stab the prisoners to start the process or not is anyone's guess. My guess would be yes, that certainly forms part of it.
Yeah.
But
We're
here's
all
the
on
interesting-
board with that.
The interesting part here is, and maybe those are the bodies that Osangar and Arangar are wearing now. Quite possibly.
They got big sword wounds in them.
I really like
They
that.
got no souls.
I mean, the
Yeah.
yeah. I like that.
I like it.
I really like
yeah,
that.
but I don't think that the Dark One really needs that. He could just take anybody's soul when he wanted to, right?
I don't
He'd have
know.
to kill them
It's
in
not
any
like
other way.
Think about the implications of
that-
that, Joe.
yeah.
You could just take Rand.
Yeah.
That's
But he has
an
to kill him
easy
first.
out. No, that's an
Yeah.
easy out. There
Alright.
has to be you've got to have the key and to get the secret.
Yeah. Okay. No, that does make sense.
Is
No,
that
okay.
is that an old 90s
Yeah, I
rave
got the key,
or techno
I got the
song? I got the key, I got the
secret.
secret.
Something like that.
Call back.
Go back.
The next message comes from regular contributor Scott Wilson, who goes, "Hi Mo and guys, in answer to Jody's question, I heard about the TV show and wanted to refresh my memory of the series. So I went looking on Audible for podcasts. Very similar to us, except we started a podcast instead of looking for one.
Yeah.
I listened to the first episodes of a few different creators, but they didn't resonate with me. Then I found Blood and Ashes. You guys really hold the series in the same fashion as I do, and you make the podcast interesting and fun. I laugh a lot with you guys and feel like old friends. This is the first non-true crime podcast I've ever followed. Keep up the good work. Thanks."
I love that.
Awesome. Amazing.
Yes.
I listen to the podcast myself, and I laugh out loud at the stupid things we say. Like,
That's my
God,
own jokes.
That is just.
I am so funny.
I am the funniest person I know.
Oh, well, look, I think it's our ability to repeat a joke that comes from someone that's really funny, like John Cleese or whomever, and we just bring it back in at the right time. It's just connecting the dots. I'm really not a funny guy.
No, you are.
You are.
I laugh at
Absolutely.
you. I'm with you all the time.
Our listeners are, I would say, of the three of us, are most often commenting on the stuff that you're saying, Will. Unless they're things that are incorrect, in which case it's usually me.
Yeah, that's you, and then
I
you don't.
am
you
on the
don't
fence
correct
again.
yourself. Yeah,
So.
No, I meant when people are correcting something, it's usually something that I have said because I tend to bloviate. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, you guys, the listeners, also feel like old friends at this stage, right? Like I feel like I've got a mental image of what everyone looks like as well. Like it's pretty cool. It's been years now of interacting with these people, and it's awesome.
Has Scott jumped
It is
into
very
the Discord channel yet? I don't know. People have weird names in there, so I don't know whom it's whom. And
Yeah, that's true. Don't know.
Yeah, everybody that's not in the Discord channel, if you don't know what Discord is, it's just a place to chat. Don't worry about all the weirdness about it, about gaming and servers, and it's just a group chat. That's
Although
all
we
it
talk
is.
about gaming sometimes.
We do, but it's just one of the small topics of the hundreds of topics.
Yes. Yeah. Adrian has really set up a channel for every conceivable topic in there, which is great.
One of them is David Bowie facts.
Wow,
Amazing.
I love that.
And the one under that is can land smell the burnt fade. We haven't
must
discussed
never
that
be
in a while.
removed because we've discussed this.
No.
And no. White Bridge. We can throw all the way back to that episode. What's that, episode 4?
Yeah, Lee, you're back in those days. Tell us your thoughts on whether land can smell a burnt fade or not.
Sure.
He can.
Okay, we've got one more to go here from Mr. Dependable Ian Yellen. Talk about regular contributors, right? So Ian goes, congratulations on your important milestone. I'm glad I found this podcast. The couple of others I had tried before wanted to observe everything through lenses that just make the books not fun. And even through the slog, you guys make this fun. Thanks, Ian. We do try.
Indeed. Thanks,
In
man.
episode 99, it was mentioned that the sitters are manipulating things to make reunification easier, but it's the Argerheads that are doing that, since they're the ones that picked the 2 young sitters. Thank you, Ian. Quite right. Love a spot of pedantry. And speaking of which, in episode 100, you talked about how long the Black Tower had been around. At this point, Taim had been recruited to run the farm 6 months prior. Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you, Ian.
All right.
Okay, just
Love that
in
detail.
the 6 months, how does that fit into the 10-day week that they have? Like, what constitutes a month in Randland?
3 weeks.
Because
3
that
weeks.
is a
No, I'm
three-
guessing.
That's
wait,
lovely.
this is
That's
a
30
question for
days.
people who's really good with calendars. I miss things all the time.
I thought you were going to say people who have to prepare the callbacks for the next episode.
Or that.
And I will now be compelled to go look it up and report
Absolutely, because of your need to be right.
Yes.
You haven't
Just
picked
get an
up on
intern
how,
to do
how
all
we
of this
put our
stuff.
little red herrings out there for you, just to keep you
Well, it's
busy.
working. For 5 years, you've sent
Red
me on
herons.
like innumerable
Yeah, man.
wild goose chases.
What's a red herons, actually? Red herons.
It's, you pronounced it incorrectly.
Ah,
it's red
sorry.
herons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And wild badger chasers, Moritz.
Badger
Not
chases.
wild
okay.
goose.
I'm so sorry.
It's in-world.
Are we ever going to
expressions,
get to have a badger section?
No.
We have our own law now.
Yeah. Of course we do. It's been 5 years. Well, how long has it been? 3.5.
5.
I don't
It's
know.
5.
No, it's been like,
5 in June.
remember, we had the 5 years of COVID while this was happening. 5 or 7
Yeah.
years of
5
COVID.
years of COVID.
All time. COVID was like balefire. It just messed with the reality of space and time.
Broke the fabric.
All right.
That's what it did.
That is it for listener contributions. So we can move ahead into some new topics of conversation, except for previously on Blood and Ashes.
Nice.
Egwene leaves the hall in the evening, and for once she doesn't have a headache. She summons Elaine from her dream to meet in Tel'aran'rhiod, but it's Avienda that shows up due to Elaine struggling to channel while pregnant. They exchange information and part ways, after which Egwene has some prophetic dreams about Mat, an attack on the White Tower, and getting help from a Seanchan woman who we know is Egwene. The next morning, she's told that Anaya and her warder have been killed with Sardine. She tasks Nisao with finding out why. Alviarin arrives back at the White Tower after being absent for a month. When she reaches Elida's study, there are a number of sitters with Elida talking about negotiating with the rebels who have besieged the tower, and all of this is news to the absent Alviarin. Elida puts Alviarin in her place, saying that the embassy to Rand disaster is being blamed on Coirin and the Black Tower disaster on Tovine, so Alviarin has no more leverage over Elida. She also tells Alviarin that since she was missing when the rebels arrived, she has asked the Hall to remove Alviarin as keeper, and they complied. Elida is thoroughly enjoying making Alviarin squirm. Alviarin flees to her own rooms when she leaves and immediately uses a Terangriel to summon Masana. When Alviarin tells Masana she thinks Elida knows she's Black Archer, Masana basically tells her to shut up. Elida doesn't even believe the Black Archer exists. Things will just be harder for Alviarin now that she's lost the Keeper Stole, but she still has to do Masana's bidding. Masana is about to dish out some penances of her own when Shaido Haran appears, automatically dispelling Masana's disguise, and Alviarin sees her true face, which looks vaguely familiar. Shaido Haran has come to make Masana pay for disobeying orders and answering a summons, and asks Alviarin if she wants to watch. When Alviarin declines, Shaido Haran congratulates her on making the right choice and places an invisible mark on her forehead. She takes orders directly from him now. Alviarin flees again before Shaido can start his punishment of Messana. We then join Pavara, who is being visited by Tana Fear, Elida's new keeper. After some formalities, Tana broaches the topic she came to discuss, the problem of the Ashaman. She believes that the only rational way to go forward is for the Red Sisters to bond Ashaman as warders, since they are the most experienced with male channelers. Pavara is shocked, but she shows Tana a message from Tovin, presumably explaining the bonding of Ashaman the Ashaman have done to Aes Sedai. We then join Cadsuane, who is getting a report from Varen about what's happening in Tyr, until Min arrives to summon Cadsuane and meet Rand. On her way to Rand, Cadsuane passes a courtyard where Lan is practicing the sword with Narishma while others watch. She has a chat with Maurice on a number of topics, including the bonding of Ashaman as warders, how the Ashaman seem to be still getting stronger in the power, whether Sardine truly can be cleansed, and whether Maurice should give Narishma the dragon pin Rand had bestowed upon him. When she arrives at Rand's room, the door is guarded by Elsa Penvella and Olivia. Inside the room, Rand is polite and they talk about how Lord Algarin had a younger brother that could channel and now he wants to be tested for Ashaman. Cadsuane tells Rand she was the one that took Algarin's brother to the tower to be gentled and how he lived another 10 years beyond that. Rand turns the topic to the Sean-chan, who it seems will never relent. He knows he needs to deal with them sooner or later. They are interrupted by news of some of the Aes Sedai sensing their warders coming closer in leaps and jumps, meaning they are traveling with someone. Turns out it's Bashir, Logan, and some other Ashaman with the Aes Sedai they bonded who have arrived, along with Loyal and Carlden. Samitsu is also there, having come from Kyrian with the warders, Loyal and Carlden. She tells Cadsuane she can see the Ashaman have bonded to the Aes Sedai. Cadsuane sends her back to Kyrian to keep an eye on Sashel. Later, Rand is talking to Logan, Loyal, and Bashir. He's pissed off at the bonding of sisters, but knows it's too late to set them free now. He doesn't want a war with the White Tower over this, so he will have to manage the situation. He then tells Bashir, Loyal, and Logan they are to reach out to the Sean-chan and set up talks. It's time for a truce, so they can focus on defeating the Shadow. And that brings us to today's first chapter, which is chapter 25, called When to Wear Jewels. Vil, when does one need to wear jewels?
Well, generally when you're going out, or, I don't know, I don't particularly jewelify myself.
To the opera?
The opera? I've never been to the opera. Been to the
Nor have I.
ballet, but I didn't wear jewels. Does a watch count as a jewel?
Been to the Opera House in Port Elizabeth?
Yes, to watch the ballet.
Ah.
Oh,
Did you wear any
very
jewels?
good. No, don't own jewels.
Hmm.
I have a watch that tells me my heart rate and tells me that I need to walk more. Does that count as a jewel? I don't know. Do you pick up on my stalling of this chapter? Because I have like 2 pages of notes. It's such a short chapter. It's back with Beefy Boy Perrin. He's in the camp. He's walking on his flowered carpets, pacing early morning, getting ready. It is 32 days since Fail has been captured. And he's growing anxious, as one would expect. A month is, well, now I assume a month. You're going to have to correct me
Yes.
on that, because
One of our months.
It's one of our months, not February. Anyway, Malden is the town where the Shaido has sieged and set up their camp around like a moat, and he is thinking about Malden and thinking about the bit of information they could get. The place is built like a puzzle. It's not an easy. I mean, this. Let's be honest. There's no way you're just going to go and storm in there, kick down the doors, and grab a couple of people and run out James Bond fashion, jumping off a cliff with a big explosion behind you. It's just not going to happen. It's barely light outside. It's super early. Lamgwin, that has tended Perrin, has finally washed him. Or Perrin might have washed himself. I'm not sure, but there was shaving, there was washing, there was getting ready for looking lordly. He's dressed in his best green cloak with silver embroidery on the shoulders, and as he's getting ready and getting dressed from nudity to his clothes, Berry Lane is sitting in the tent there, of course, the whole time. And I mean, she just smells patient and content now because, you know, they've hit it off. There's no more chasing. It's all out in the air now. Joe, you like that? Love it.
No,
But
cross
it's all
out,
hanging out in the air.
strike
It's
through,
all
strike
there.
through. Every time Billy comes up with his own little narratives here, I'm just going to call out strike through. Just draw a line through that
damn it.
text.
Objection, Your Honor.
This is not a court case, people. Anyway, Perrin is really grateful for Berry Lane's presence, keeps him calm and all that. All right. Still no prisoners. They have not been able to capture any scouting parties of the Shaido. Still a task that is at hand. But the task of today is getting some coin on the table. Arganda had to break open the lockbox to get a pouch of coin. Perrin is a bit of a poor guy. He didn't have a lot of coin, so he had to scrape coppers and silvers together to look lordly and bring his share. And of course, Berylane, she got the dough. She popped her value in there, and they are going out today, jeweled up and ready to do some shopping at the mall. And as they leave, there's a description of the camp and the really good food they have been having. So we are now at the point of starvation almost, because when you start gathering the acorns and grind it down to mix it with the weevils, to mix it with a little bit of grain you got left, it turns into a sour mush that, well, you're hungry, you eat. No, that we've learned, but don't know, it does not sound appealing. And I did not know you can grind up acorns and make food. So I really hope this is not a made up thing, because maybe one day I'm stranded in the bush and I'm grinding up acorns and I die from some toxicity.
Interjection. No, I've actually watched a survival video on how to eat acorns, and you crack them open and you've got to leach the tannins out of them. So you've got to cook them in a little bit of hot water, boil them, and then throw the water off, put more water in until the water runs clear, because they're very, very bitter, and then you can eat them.
Okay.
So great survival food.
Good to know, because it's a plentiful in gardens all around here. So zombie apocalypse, I'm ready for you now, even more.
Okay.
Perrin and Berababe and Arganda now moving through the camp. They're getting their horses that was brought to them. Obviously, there's going to be guards because Berababe is going out with her lover. So you got 50 of the Mayan Wing guards, and we've got all of them ready. Aram, on the other hand, has been told to stay behind. But also... Aram, on the other hand, has been told to stay behind. But that bothers Perrin, because he's got hotheads all around him. You've got Arganda that can at any point in time do something stupid. And Aram is now getting into fights over nothing with people. It's becoming a bit of a problem. He's slowly becoming worse and worse, this what a bloodlust man. Perrin asks, and I didn't write down, who did he ask? Was it Daniel? To keep an eye on Aram and what's the other dude's name now? Just
so many names.
Yeah, so many names. Just so that they can just let them be cool. And he's like, look, I can do my best, but like I cannot do it. Like, and he's like, okay, do your best, but don't let it come to blows. Like, that's what we're trying to avoid here. Everyone is pretty hot under the collar. It's been 32 days. Sionid and Missouri and Anura, they join the group as well. So we've got a real royal procession, like wagons, by guards, design. Archers at the back by design to look wealthy, not like a starving camp, so that they can go and woo the lords and the ladies of this land that was discovered by Madman Massima. And as they get to the horses and get going with it, Perrin can spot one of Massima's men like scuttling out into the shrub. So it's okay, obviously going to report that we're leaving now. So Massima's got his men watching the camp. And the two thief catchers from Berry Lane they are in a shallow grave or a cook pot, if you think about the situation. Do you think
the Shaido
Massima's... No, not the Shaido.
Remember,
Massima's people.
Yeah,
that's true.
The two thief catchers went in to steal the letter and then went back with wine and they never returned. That's 2 days now they haven't returned. So either cookpot or shallow grave. I'm putting 75% on the cookpots because those guys are...
Of course you are.
Yeah, they just all...
You're one step away from a Trolloc.
Yep. Pretty much. I mean, I think this is how Trollocs began, potentially. I know they
Season
were
2 of
made,
Yellow
but
Jackets.
yes, I know, but indulge me. They are a very impressive sight. Even Perrin thinks that this is a very impressive procession that they're off. Perrin has now realized Berylane no longer smells like a hunting wolf. So is this sincere? And all my jokes about Perrin and Berylane aside, is this sincere or like genuinely sincere?
It's been like this for a while.
Yeah,
I've commented on this before. Like
You just can't believe it, Moritz. It's
Berylane had this like competition with Fael early on, but like very early on, it was
Stone of Tyr. Like
but then she also like I think she quite purposefully had Perrin carried into her tent after he was out in the cold like 32 days ago, she had still enacted something that was damaging to Perrin's reputation and like would make Perrin think that she was coming after him. But very soon after that, Perrin keeps smelling like he doesn't believe his own senses when he smells her like only being coldly determined and that sort of thing. So I think she's put this thing to bed ages ago.
Right. You guys remember old Will Alcine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good-looking guy, finally turned Sen of
Good-looking
Calves,
chap, yeah.
all the lot. He's leading the 20-odd Two Rivers men that is going out. And he even throws Perrin one of his side glance. What would you call that? Model stare?
Blue steel.
Perrin's like, that
Blue steel. Yes.
Yeah, blue steel looks. Of course, Balwer is on the job. He is going along, which is really good.
No one invited him.
But
he's going.
He's going
and no one's
it.
telling him he can't go, so...
Okay.
Well, he asks to go, doesn't he?
No, he just shows up.
He shows up ready with
doesn't
folding hand.
Doesn't he show up saying like he's got a friend in town that he would like to go visit?
Oh,
that he hasn't seen in a long time.
But he's also
he comes up with some story
with him. His posse of Sha'il spies and
Chafail.
Chafail.
Morons.
That's what I said. No,
Close
Jody, they are not morons. They're actually starting to play a really useful role. And we had this discussion. Like they can try. Give them a go. Come on.
Sure,
Wow.
Let the morons try. Okay.
I mean, they're trying to replicate a really cool thing. So, I mean, they can't pull it off, but they're trying. And I mean, 10 out of 10 for effort. Right. Spies, horses, carts, men, banners, the works. Nield is instructed to open a gateway, and it is shopping time. But not yet. There's first farm talk, and men talk, and cart talk. There's carts. It reminded me a bit of Apple Cart days. It's a little bit nostalgic.
The good old days.
At that point, Missouri points out a Toraken, the dragon flying in the sky. Quickly at that point, I went back to a Drakkar. And again, last night, yes, I had a big fright. I went out onto my balcony about 11:30 or whatever the time was. Dark.
You saw a Drakkar.
No, but a fruit bat that flew very low between the two buildings. And they're big. They got a big wingspan. And
they're huge.
Yeah. They scare the crap out of you if they just come there and they're silent. Like you don't hear them fly. Anyway.
The worst is when they when they land in a tree and like they hang from and like big branches are like swaying with just like the massive.
And then they start shouting at each other. They're noisy when they're in the trees.
Yeah, they're nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, the Toraken or Raken, what's the one with just the one rider? Toraken moves off into the sun, and parents like, look, they're not looking for us. They are pretty much probably after the Shaido. So let's not worry too much about them. We've got our plan and our mission ahead. And that's where the chapter ends.
Beautiful.
Very, very short and uninteresting.
These chapters I find are very
camp.
To the point,
Yes.
Stuff happens. It's cool. Did you have anything from that chapter you wanted to call out, Jody?
I think the main theme of that chapter behind all the cart and talking is the tensions growing in the camp. Everybody's wants to get a move on now. Like, they can't get into that town the way they thought they were going to be able to get in and go and rescue everybody. Aram is feeling it. Perrin is feeling it. Oganda is feeling it. Gallienne is feeling it. There's a new guy, Kirainen,
Yeah.
douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, he's the new douchebag in town.
Yes.
Everybody is tense. And old, was it Will? Will Alcine is left in charge, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to tell them what to do.
No, Will Alcine
Once
is
you
not
leave,
left
they're going to
in
do whatever the
charge.
fuck they want to.
It was
he's left in charge of the
Daniel.
Two Rivers men.
No, Will goes
whatever.
with as archers behind the wagons.
One of the Two
He's
Rivers
leading
dudes.
those. There's
Yeah, okay.
Daniel that was left there. But I think this whole chapter's purpose is
Finn or something.
set up for
Yeah.
the 2 chapters from now, when they eventually capture those Shaido. It's like these desperate loose cannons and what they end up, we'll get there. So I think this is just a setup for the emotional state, as you say, Joe, to this whole
everyone is
thing that's going to go down.
Yeah. I had a couple notes about Balwer. Perrin thinks to himself, he was beginning to suspect there was more to Balwer than the man let on. Yeah. No shit.
Only
Perrin.
beginning.
It's about time.
The Chafail aren't wearing any swords. And I was wondering if that is by Balwer's instruction. Like, all right, if you guys want to get into town and go gather information and stuff, don't look threatening. Don't go in carrying weapons. Just leave the swords behind. Which is cool.
And then they probably wish they took it when they got there.
Well, swords don't do much against ghosts.
No.
Perrin thinks to himself he wishes he could send the Two Rivers men home, or even better, take them home. And that just made me think, does Perrin ever go back to Eamon's Field? In the story, like in the books?
If anyone does, it's him.
I don't think that
He's
he does.
always wanting to go home. Yeah. Well, he did for a short time. Then now he's realized that going home just causes way more problems than it solves.
Of course, he went home and he defended against the Trollocs and all that stuff, and that was great, and he became Lord Perrin Golden Eyes. But I was just wondering, he is the most tied to Eamon's Field. I mean, by being the Lord of the Two Rivers now, basically.
Of Eamon's Field.
Yes. But I was just wondering, does he get to go back within the span of the books up until the end of Memory of Light? And I don't think that he does.
He becomes Saldean royalty. He has to go back to Saldea and rule with Fail, doesn't he?
But they also ratify the Two Rivers as a fiefdom, or whatever you call it, a province that he does gain the title Lord of the Two Rivers over. That's an agreement that he makes with Elaine.
He puts a steward in place. I mean, his entire family is dead, so the Two Rivers is home, but it's not home for him anymore.
Oh, there's plenty of guys that came with him, like Will and
Daryl.
Okay, we got a new guy on the books now, Daryl.
Daryl, his brother Daryl, and his other brother Daryl.
Those guys. They could go back and be stewards. They've got some worldly experience now.
But you're right, Fail does become the Queen of Saldea. So he's the Lord of the Two Rivers, married to the Queen of Saldea. Pretty strong bond then between Andor and Saldea, which is pretty cool. I had a chuckle at the idea of Lamgwin shaving Perrin. Like this burly bouncer, sunken knuckles.
Sunken knuckles.
That's just a funny thought. And speaking of knuckles, at the very beginning of the chapter, they talk about Perrin straightening his gauntlets or something. I never imagined Perrin he's wearing full on gauntlets.
Apparently,
will come in handy when he starts smashing people's heads in with hammers and stuff. But yeah, I just never picture it, and I have to remind myself that they're armed for battles a lot of the time.
It's ironic that you'd wear gauntlets, but then just a coat. Like, it's not wearing mail armor.
Is he
or
just
chainmail.
wearing gauntlets?
It's just like, cool, I'm going to put my gauntlets on for this.
Couldn't find his gloves. It's just going for gauntlets.
It's going to do a lot of punching. Yeah, that's it. Like we said, pretty straightforward chapters. So we can move on to chapter 26, which is called In So Harbor. Joe, in how harbor?
So harbor, bro. Kneeled, turns out. is very good at making gateways and placing them exactly where he needs to. Of course he is. He's
been doing it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's his only job. It's making gateways. So they come out very close to exactly where he had aimed it. You could spit near it. That doesn't make any sense. And just over the rise from a town called So Harbor. There it is. It's in the name. Just over a rise, like he's behind a little hill, as to not freak out the residents. You don't want to go and shopping at the mall and just appear out of thin air. You scare away the shopkeepers. So, and the shopkeepers there are already pretty scared. So they've brought the 2 Aes Sedai with them, you got to remember. Barry Lane's there, some Gildan lancers in their shiny armor and their conical hats. And they have 2 Rivers bowmen, but they stay behind in reserve by the wagons. They are there to look flashy, as if to say, we have money to spend. And they have also enough troops with them to say, hey man, we're serious folk. Take us seriously, but we're not that serious that we want to invade and murder you all. So like striking a nice balance. Galeen announced... Galeen, how have we been pronouncing this guy's name? Galene?
Yes, you've been pronouncing it Galene for a very long time. Now you've changed it. I think the pronunciation's probably Galene or something like that.
Galene. So Galene announces them all. He walks up first towards the walls, because the gate is the drawbridge is up. This place is surrounded with a river in front of it, and gates and high walls. It's like a fortress. It's not just a little town. So he announces them with all their flashy titles: Lord of 2 Rivers, Barry Lane, Queen of the Southern Isles, or whatever. But the townsfolk are quite unwelcoming. The gates are closed, and there are sentries on the walls with crossbows, who ask them, are they real? And that's a big bad sign. Am I real? These guys are tripping, man. And then to Perrin's nose alone, he smells quite a foul stench coming from inside. He's like, no one else smells that? This doesn't smell right. He's getting a very bad feeling about this. Eventually, they let them in. They do agree to open the gates once they are convinced that they are real. And that's when that smell wafts out and everyone can smell it. It's the smell of dirt and sweat and garbage and poo. Lots of chamber pots that have not been emptied out in a while. This town has been closed up for some time. As they enter, a man tries to poke Perrin's horse Stepper and almost gets his fingers bitten off. But he was just checking to see if he really was real. Like, can I touch this? So this is getting really weird now. So they asked to see the lord or lady in charge here. But apparently, Lord Cowlin bailed the second shit went south in this town. He is long gone. So they go straight to the grain merchants to get down to business. So fine, we're here to do some shopping. Take us to the shopkeepers. Perrin suggests bailing as well. There's bad juju in this place. But Berylin says, no, they're already here. And there's no one else. Where else are we going to go shopping? This is the only mall in town. We have to push through. So they all head over to the docks, wherever they're going. People tell them, we'll take you to these guys. Except for Balwer and Fael's people, as to not... I have written something else here, but...
you were going to be derogatory again. I'm going to put you on
But Willie doesn't like it.
No.
That's my chapter. Fael's morons. I'll say what I want. All right? That he has taken over. He's like now in charge of them, and they head off north to explore something, to go meet their friend, apparently. I don't think there's a friend. No. It's just my sneaky suspicions. There are still quite a few people left in town. Dirty people, skinny people, fearful, scurrying about, and Perrin wonders why they haven't bathed. Like, you guys have a river like right outside. You could have just at least had a shower. Why you haven't left? Why don't you just leave as well? This you have options, but I suppose leaving would be dangerous with all the Shaido running around. So they kind of just hold up in there. They go to a inn called the Golden Barge, where they see 11 people around. The only clean table inside the place. Everything else is just covered in dust everywhere, and everything is silent. These turn out to be the Merchants Guild of the town. Imagine that. Everybody is quiet and dodgy and suspicious, and Honora's had enough of this, so she just marches up to them and demand, what the actual fuck has happened in this town. Before they can answer, Berylane talks over her, demanding to know where the merchants are, because they don't know who these people are when they first arrived. And Nora is none too pleased. Moritz, this is what you talked about a few episodes ago, the rift between these two. Mm-hmm. They're not buddy-buddy anymore. Turns out these people are the Merchants Guild. Berylane tells them that they're here to pay good gold for lamp oil and beans and a whole bunch of haberdasheries. This seems to brighten their day a bit. Like, they've had a tough time of it, and here are some people that look serious. I mean, there's a queen, right? And lords and all kinds of people with lots of gold to spend. So they call for some wine to celebrate that no one in their right mind would want to drink except for Kieran. That's his name. I'm going to call him Kieran. He is a dumbass, so he just grabs the wine and drinks it. Everybody's like, I wouldn't touch anything in this town, bro, but you be you. You go for it. The merchants show them some samples, which seem to be of very good quality. There's some yellow millet, guys. Yellow millet. Can you believe it? Never thought I'd see it in this town. Brown oats and barley.
Beautiful.
Berylane goes into... it's some of the best stuff you've ever seen. Berylane goes into bargaining mode. She has bargained bigger deals than this for her country before. She is... I'm in charge. Everyone shut up. Let me just do my thing. She and Perrin want to see the warehouses first, which makes the merchants' heads sag. But they head off to the storehouses anyway. It's like, where are you keeping you? I want to see this, not just your samples. I want to see the real things. And then they're like, shit. It doesn't look good for them. On their way through Dodgy Town, there's a comparison between Galene and Kieran. Like, Galene has his helm on, he has both hands on his sword. He also senses something is not right. While Kieran he left the inn with his glass of wine. He's got his glass of wine in one hand and his helm in the other hand. His sword's just on his side. He's not going to be ready for anything. Even I know that. Just beg it to die, really. And I hope he does soon, because he deserves it. I've only just met him, but I don't like him. They get to the storehouses, and the merchants just suddenly realize that they didn't bring any of the men to move the massive wooden beams that close the storehouse, the barring the doors. But they should all go now quickly and go fetch some men. But Perrin just walks over, and what I've read twice now seems lifts the bar with one hand and just throws it across down the street. Everybody's like, oh my god, not only are you strong, but also a lord doing his own work, like lifting a thing for himself without his serving men. Like, oh my god, who is this lord? Okay, plan B for the merchants. They need lanterns. Oh, well, we go inside the storehouse. It's dark. We need to go back and fetch some guys and some lanterns. Anora's got him. She just channels a ball of light. Damn it. They are met with the familiar smell of barley and the sounds of a cat killing a rat somewhere in the back of the storehouse. There are also enough sacks of grain piled high to feed 10 armies. So when they weren't like, this is not what they were trying to hide, like they were trying to rip them off. They have a lot of shit. More than enough for them. But Perrin needs some inspection, so he cuts open a bag of grain, and in the light of Anora's glowing ball, it's just as many weevils as barley. And bag after bag revealing the same. Cutting and just weevils everywhere. Sneaky merchants. Now they offer to winnow all the bags. For a small extra fee, we'll clean it up for you if you pay extra. But Berlane's like, no, that's bullshit. You try to trick us and rob us, we'll take the grain at half the original price that they agreed upon. And they have no other choice but to agree. And sell it. And start winnowing all this shit out. Got some work to do, guys. Let's go. Just then, Kieran, whatever his name is, screams, and everyone goes running outside. He's frozen in place, staring at the wall, with his sword only half out, because his hands were full of other shit. He's just seen a man walk through the wall. The merchants didn't even flinch while all of this is happening. I mean, for them, it's just another day in So Harbor. Cyanid is there too. By the way, she also snuck off and did some investigations while they were walking and doing their bargaining. She saw the dead man too. So Perrin, half-heartedly believes them, and she goes, hey man, I have difficulty lying. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, okay, indeed, then you saw a man walk through a wall. So while they had been negotiating grain, she had been doing some snooping, and she says the dead are walking in So Harbor. The Lord apparently had fled for fear of his dead wife's ghost haunting him. He was also, I'm out of here as soon as possible. And some of the townspeople have even died of fright, or according to some way out there stories, being touched by a ghost. So something is very, very wrong here. She tells Perrin that he must leave an Aes Sedai here to investigate, but Perrin's like, listen, I can't afford to lose 50% of my Aes Sedai. I only have 2. So Harbour will have to face its dead alone. Dum dum dum. That's it, really.
Mm-hmm. Pretty straightforward.
Oh.
Mm.
What happens? What would happen to you, Jody, if you saw a ghost, like for realsies, in your walk? Like, anyone that has passed and you see them walking through.
Fill his underpants.
Like if.
Yeah, exactly. That's why the place stinks like it does. They're all constantly shitting themselves.
That's the reason.
Yeah, chamber pots has not been emptied, so they just stop shitting in the chamber pots. They're just shitting their pants.
That's the smell. I get it. It makes so much sense, Billy.
Yeah, I remember when I said a couple chapters ago about the introduction of the idea of ghosts.
Just started a little while ago.
It becomes more prevalent now.
In the first apartment I rented in the north of Spain when I moved here, a couple of times out of the corner of my eye, saw a little kid running past my kitchen in Bilbao, in that flat.
Wasn't one of your many children?
No, by then I had no children. It was my first year in Spain.
Oh, yikes.
Maybe it was a future projection of what my life will be. But yeah, I was like home alone, cooking dinner, and then I'll be like, what the fuck was that? A couple of times.
Wow.
Still don't believe in ghosts.
No. Well, maybe. Who knows?
I believe in everything.
You don't know what you don't.
Bigfoot, ghosts, UFOs. Throw it at me.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Like, yes, that's real.
But ghosts, no.
In the context of the Wheel of Time, ghosts and their appearance are starting to signify the breaking down of the walls of reality, right? And the realm of the dead and that sort of stuff belonging to the shadow, and that bleeding out into the real world, much like the failing wards, the bubbles of evil, all that sort of stuff. Like it starts drip feeding, and at this point, and then by the end, it's like, do you guys remember, like with the whole White Tower, like the floors moving around and being in completely wrong places, and they're walking down corridors that usually would end somewhere, they end somewhere complete, stairwells going missing, like that sort of stuff. Like when I say reality is changing around them, I don't mean just like their perception, like physical things are, the pattern itself is actually creaking under the pressure from the shadow.
Some threads from some balefire acts that Rand and all of these
maybe
has now caused shit to go wrong. Like it's the spillover effect.
Ravin's death is directly responsible for these ghosts in So Harbor.
Yeah, stuff like that. That's probably, and I mean, it is the danger of balefire, as we understand it. You're burning a thread out the pattern. Threads hold each other together. The causal effects of everything down the line. For instance, that guy's connected to that guy, but they never met. So this guy never rocked up to build the tower stairway. So someone else built it, and he built it that way. Like it's not like a supernatural thing. It's like you have changed the future by messing with the past. Yes. I love it. I love that mechanics of it. It is great.
It's cool shit. You know who is not cool shit is this Korean guy with this cup of wine.
He's just shit.
When they're preparing to go, or at one point he's busy talking, he says something, and the quote from the book is, Berelain arched an eyebrow at him, a dangerous look, as a man with any brains would see. Kieran did not see.
No.
I think Kieran walked in there and he felt at home. He was like, hey man, this is where I come from this. Look, I used to hang out with guys that shit their pants. Give me a cup of wine, I don't care, take my gauntlet off. Easy days.
But which part of is he part of the Geldian people?
Yes, so Arganda's
Arganda's
man, and
second
looking for is it not Amathera, she's now Thera, the Panarch from Tanchico. This lady is
Amarilla. Amarilla.
It's not Aramilla, that's the Queen Killer, that's who's opposing Elaine. Come, let's test ourselves. Let's see if we can remember this lady's name. She's the one that's more fealty to
Fail.
It's something with an A. I think we're all on the...
It is, yeah.
on the
No,
right
no,
track.
you're
Anura.
right.
No, that's Aes Sedai.
Yes.
Agamemnon.
No, that's not even in this book.
You're further away. Yes.
King of Kings.
Oh, Christ. That's...
We're going to
I'm gonna
really
Google
get
it.
are
so...
the
Screw
worst.
this.
Like, wow.
Yeah, dude, we have the internet, all of us.
I'm not going to...
But we're supposed to have knowledge. We're supposed to be relaying our
No.
knowledge to people.
No one ever
we're
said we have
scholars
knowledge.
of this topic.
I reject that
Aleandre.
version.
Leandre.
Leandre, that's it.
There
I
we
remember
go.
now,
Oh,
Leandre.
No.
Leandre. One of my best friends.
Leandre.
Leandre. A fallen
Here we
queen.
go.
Okay.
Oh, it's a very Afrikaans name, eh?
Very Afrikaans name.
Leandre.
Leandre Leroux.
Here we go. Gotta get the hard
That's the
R's in
one.
there, yeah. I had only one other note here, and that is that it doesn't take any wolf sense to realize that something weird is going on in this town, and Perrin says as much. But yeah, straightforward stuff, hey? Should we move on?
Yeah. Please.
Let's wrap up with our dear friend, beefy boy, Perrin Aybara in Crossroads of Twilight in the last chapter that he appears in, chapter 27, called What Must Be Done. Vil, what must we do?
Well, if you have the stomach for it, then it must be done. But, yes. So, Perrin, prior to dispatching to So Harbor, had questioned himself because Arganda can't recall if he didn't want to go because waiting for the possibility of the capture of Shaido, and
Something
him
along those
wanting.
lines.
And so this Kieran was sent, and for Perrin it was like a toss-up. Like both of them are far out, so like
Yes.
each one or the other it would be the same thing. Anyway, Arganda got left behind, and we'll get to that shortly. So we are in the point of view of Perrin, as you had said, and we are now still in the town loading food in So Harbor. Everyone wants out, but there's days worth of work to chaff out all the bugs and weevils. So this is, it's not just about emptying sacks into a blower and a mini sifter and sifting out everything and just repackaging quickly. No, it's all menial labor, but everyone is stoked in the town because this labor that they're doing right now does not remind them of the ghosts that have been haunting them. So they are going along and getting weevils washed out by the wind. And as I said, this will take days. Berelain comes and joins Nura, and she is reeking of anger. And I assume her anger is at Nura, right? Question mark.
I would imagine, yes.
Yes, but the Perrin doesn't really get onto it, but he doesn't have time for this. He's already got the Aes Sedai up in arms now because they feel they need to study, help, and do Aes Sedai things in this town. And Perrin's just like, nah, not happening. People will stay behind here that need to stay behind, but I'm not leaving powerful tools at my disposal. I'm not leaving my forge hammer behind. Referring to Perrin talk, a little bit of blacksmith there. He didn't say that. I'm using it as a reference, just to save confusion with everyone. Anura is playing a very vague game with Berelain. And she really doesn't know what is her end game at the moment. So I think that we'll see develop now that there is Anura is on her own little mission. Sionit then joins the fray, and Perrin just affirm no, it's not happening. Get in line, get in place. We are out of here within the hour. The people can load the carts. There's guards that can accompany, and they can take a day drive to get back. But we are leaving, and we're going. And like I said, town folk stoked. People, we're getting money, and we're not seeing ghosts at the moment. So that's great. That reminded me, these town folk in the Monty Python skit. You, man!
It's those guys. Woman!
I am a man!
Old woman. Man.
Old woman. Man. Anyway, Perrin took a moment to have a look at Stepper's hooves and seeing that one shoe is just a few days away from breaking or whatever, blacksmith moments. And he just thinks back of the good times of swinging a hammer. And I think that's the introduction of hammer time that's coming back. Right, I've mentioned that. Let's zip. All right, they move. There's a sense of relief in everyone as they leave the town. And as soon as the gateway is woven and Perrin is through the gateway, he doesn't wait for the rest of the party. He's like, you're just a 10-minute ride from camp. He bootstepped. He wants to get back. Any news from the scouts? Have there been anything? He rides into a camp that has the atmosphere of high tension. And first thing you'd think is, okay, what the frick did Aram do now again? But no.
Yeah.
Daniel, Sulan, Idara come and they meet Perrin. And they're like, the maiden's got them 5 men. You better go and get in there because Arganda and Aram is at the lead on that show. Idora says, well, just before you rush in beating men up and going crazy, understand, even Shaido are resilient. That they are still a heel, and these are stone dogs. So I don't know what the specific relevance of them being stone dogs are. Maybe they are as hard as stones and dog-minded. So maybe they're a particularly stubborn set of men, but we'll find out because torture has already ensued. But putting them to the question is not going to be an easy task. It could be days, if not weeks, before they break, or you might kill them before they even say a thing. But as Perrin goes through the neat, orderly camp of the what are they called? Those men?
Gildan?
The Gildan camp. He starts smelling the delicious smell of roasting flesh, meat roasting. But there's a circle of men and Perrin barges his way through. And there, the torture is real. They've got one man like stretched out like a flame. And he's lying flat on the ground, I assume, but he's stretched so tightly that sinews are pulling tight. And they are dropping, and they specifically is the ear collector. We know he's quite
Harry.
A very bad Harry.
It's got such an unassuming name.
Yeah.
Hari.
Harry the ear collector.
Hari, not the Y. Harry.
Ari.
Yeah, you do it with some weird accent and it sounds a little bit more intimidating. Either way, this guy is not good. He's not cool, and he's taking a tremendous amount of pleasure in taking coal after coal and replacing it and just putting it on a man's body to burn through the flesh, that's terrible. The man's gagged. He can't scream. He's trying to, but it's painful. Even Aiel men can feel pain. They just won't break easily. Perrin does not like this.
The Stone Dogsville, I looked it up, is their special job is that they're the rear guard of any attack, and their vow is that they will never retreat and they will die to keep that vow. So maybe the fact that they won't retreat translates to that they won't give up, that they won't succumb.
Isn't the rear guard also the most likely to be ambushed? Well, that comes down, like you've got to pick up the pieces at the back if shit goes wrong.
Guard the rear, some might say.
Yeah. Anyway, Perrin boots that little bucket that's now melted into the snow right into Harry's face and hands, and is burning and swearing. And he's just like, this is not going to fly. This is not how we're going to do it. Massima, on the other end, he's there. You crazy guy. Perrin didn't even smell him through the roasting meat flavor, the madness on him. And he shares his wisdom that they will never break and animals and what. Aram, on the other hand, is like, look, Perrin, this has to be done. And you told me a man must do what a man must do, which is Perrin's own words used against him. But I guess I don't know. How do you guys feel about that level of torture?
Perrin himself thinks the same thing. It's just he's applying those words differently, right?
Yeah.
Is this what a man must do? Perrin goes, some might say, a step further. I would think actually it's not as bad, like Perrin's threat and what he actually does, I think, is more psychological torture than it is
I think
physical.
it's nothing to do with the physical pain that happened. It was about that honor that I will take away from you. But we'll get there.
Yeah. So Perrin is doing exactly what Aram is advising him. He says a man must do what a man must do. That's also what Perrin sort of says to himself when he does.
So Perrin goes close, pulls a rag out of the man's mouth, and immediately the man tries to snap a piece of flesh out of him like a little, snapping turtle. He gets out the way, and immediately he bursts out in Wash the Spears. The full chorus, everything. And then spotting, Perrin says, hey man, look, just want to talk to you about our girls. We just want them back. We don't want to kill you. We're not here. I just want the information to get my wife back. You can understand that, hopefully. But then he sings some more folklore songs about a man with yellow eyes that disappeared and magic and all of that. And Aram's like, oh, well, if you can't do this, I will do this. And Perrin just decides, okay, this is the moment. And the axe rose easily and came down with the force of a hammer molding iron on an anvil. And he chops his hand off. Clean, beautiful slice, obviously cutting off major arteries. So there's blood spraying, man screaming, blood over Perrin's face, he says beard now, but he was shaven, which I found quite strange. He was just shaven by Landsman.
Trimming the beard.
So just a trimming. Okay, so all right. So he's still bearded.
Pretty.
Anyway, there's blood in his beard, and this guy obviously knows I'm going to bleed out here, and a huge level of self-preservation. He sticks his thumb in his mouth to try and stop the bleeding, which is pretty great. Major screaming, blood out of his mouth, bleeding stump arm, and Perrin then immediately tells Sionid to heal the wound, and she's like, what, heal? You can't grow hands back. That's not how it works. It's like, no, I didn't say grow a hand back, just heal it. They want him to die. And then he says, right, this is how it's going to work. We want to know where they are, and we're going to put you to the question. Every time we get a different answer, I'm going to take another hand. Each one of you, 2 hands, 2 feet, but I won't kill you. And then I will find the closest town that will take in a footless and handless Sahil man to be a beggar and sit there for the kids to be scared at. And this and walks away. That's all. Perrin just walks and doesn't stop walking. He keeps walking to the point where he sits down in the forest. Dry blood over his face and beard. The axe is dry blood, drying up looking head. And he lifts the axe and he throws it. And with a massive thud, like a little impaled on
it's a tree.
Impaled, hits the tree.
I think it's a thunk.
Peg in a tree.
Not a thud.
With a thud. I think it's more thud. Anyway, he also then says to Elias, okay, you can come out now. I know you're there. I can smell you. And he comes out, and Perrin and Elias has a long chat where Elias says to him that you even had Massima scared, and I didn't think that was possible. So Perrin's behavior left a very lasting impression, not only on the Aiel men that, as we will hear, spoke and all spoke the same story, but discussion then goes to the axe and him mentioning to him, get rid of it when you start enjoying it. And have you started enjoying it? And Perrin references to my wells, and he's just done with the axe. It stays there with Elias for what seems to be hours, watching the black blood on the axe dry, and just sat and looked at it. Eventually, Niald and Aram arrive, and they've talked. They've all given the same answer. It worked, but we didn't extract any information, because the reality is they're just the guards on the fringes, and they might not have seen any of them at any point in time. Aram is then, okay, cool, well, let's just kill them now and get on with it. And Perrin's like, look, fool, you can guard them, you can keep them as prisoners, not everything has to be killed. And I think we're being drawn there to the bloodlust of Aram and his ways now continuously. Anytime he's been brought up, it's a different character. Like it's written as well, like a lot, like the one stinker. Like he is so far fallen from that lifestyle that there's just no coming back.
Yeah.
3 days later, the wagons have arrived with the return of Balwer and a now quite heavily bearded, somewhat dirty Talanvor. Talanvor is back.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Balwer's endgame? Did he know that he's going to pick him up there?
No, I don't think so. I think Balwer was looking for information. He was about to leave when he ran into Talanvor. I mean, Perrin is Taverin, so maybe by Perrin being there, Balwer stayed just long enough for Talanvor to rock up again, but I don't think he went there looking for Talanvor.
But anyway, Talanvor's back, comes from Sobarber and says, look, Balwer says to Perrin, he's got a bit of news from Talanvor, and Perrin still jokes, what, you got an army for me? And he's like, well, 15,000 Sean Shan, but mostly they are, what are they, Tarrabonas?
Tarrabonas.
Yeah, they're Tarrabonas men, and they also have Damani, but they are hunting the same thing. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. End. How good that was.
Rad.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, so finally, it feels like years ago, it probably was, that we first started talking about when Perrin throws the axe away and stuff. And here it is. Big moment for Perrin.
I do remember this being a lot more dramatic for me. And I think it's probably first time read, okay, wow, he chopped the guy's hand off and healed it. But I think what Perrin did was far less, what's the word?
Brutal?
Much more humane, far less brutal, I guess. I mean,
But Perrin's still to the heart of it, right? Idara sort of gives him this she tips him off like, these guys are Shaido, but even Shaido are tough, right? And these guys are stone dogs as well. So I don't know how you're going to manage this. Were the Aiel actually screaming and stuff when the coals were on?
He had a rag
belly?
in his mouth, so he couldn't. So he was murmuring, and Perrin pulled the rag out, and at that moment he snapped biting.
Yeah. So yeah, super tough. Also, Perrin at no point during this exchange, either with Hari or himself, does the Shaido smell like fear. Doesn't smell fear. Yeah. Ever.
Now,
pretty badass.
Goal, what society does he belong to?
Goal. He's, I want to say a stone dog.
Also, I had the thinking, and
that pitch of your voice screams certainty.
Absolute certainty. But perhaps that Perrin and the lot of time that he spent with Gaul had a bit of insight to what a worst fear could be, or a worst situation.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't really spent time with many Aiel. So there's been the wise ones.
Certainly with Gaul, yeah.
But certainly he spent a lot of time with Gaul. And I want to say, I think he's a stone dog.
And Bane and Triad. Yeah, I'm leaning towards stone dog as well.
Gaul back.
In my mind as well, this was more brutal. I remember him chopping off multiple appendages. This made it way bigger in my mind.
That's the mistake I'd made in an earlier episode when we were talking about it way long ago, when I thought what Perrin was doing was having like chopping off a limb and then healing it and chopping it again and healing it and chopping it again. That's what I had remembered at that point. But we were corrected by a reader at that time. And also me sort of saying like, I was disappointed that Perrin would have this guy from Massima's camp that he's already encountered and wanted to kill already, performing torture on the Aiel. But then we were also corrected by a listener at the time saying, no, Perrin comes back to camp and it's already happening. So it's happening outside of Perrin's control. That's why Harry was taking charge. But Aram, standing here with Massima, like we're seeing warning signs here of Aram maybe like agreeing with Massima. It's like it's the beginnings of it. But if you guys will recall, Aram tries to kill Perrin because Massima convinces Aram that Perrin is Shadow Spawn because of his golden eyes and stuff. So yeah, my note here is just like, oh no, Aram, get away from Massima. But that's not going to happen.
Again, this is
you can't hear you, Marts.
Aram is portraying what you see a lot in life, in real life with people, where they pivot from one spectrum to the other spectrum, like 180 degrees.
Yes, extremes.
You go from being absolutely peace-loving to a raging madman, or vice versa, like going from being a total heathen to a spreader of the gospel. Like,
yes,
this is Aram. He's gone from Tinker to Massima's camp, and I mean, there's the stark differences between there is just insane. So he's got to get his comeuppance soon. I'm getting a bit over him now.
I've never liked Aram.
Melbourne.
Not once.
No.
Not since he started hitting on Egwene back in the day. But speaking of Massima, when Perrin does the thing where he chops off the thing and it chops off the hand and delivers the speech and everything, Massima looks afraid. Like even Massima's like, holy shit, what did I just witness here?
And that's because he's hit with fear, probably starts thinking, okay, he's Shadow Spawn. Look at what he did. Look at what he did.
Look at this beast.
I don't think he needs any more.
No.
He could just invent his own scenarios to make him hate Perrin.
Yeah.
But yeah, this did not help Perrin's cause in the Massima camp.
No. The thing that Perrin says to Talonvor at the end, Willie, is when Talonvor says, I've come to help, Perrin says to him, nothing less than an army will be much use. My comment is like, well, I got an army.
Funny you should say that.
And it's nice now. I mean, the alignment between everyone realizing, like, look, we can't fight the Sean-Shan. Like, we have a battle on our hands.
Rand and Perrin, yes, in quick succession have both realized
realizing that. And I think Matt is also going to sort of see into that now.
Matt's already spading one.
Marrying one.
Spading the Empress.
Spading. Haven't heard that in years.
Do I need to translate that for our international listeners?
Probably. I don't think anyone knows what spading means.
It's a South African term for, like coming on to or wooing or, putting in the work to hook up. Then I've got some other arbitrary stuff in here. There's one of the Chaffiel comes past Perrin with his horse and sort of stops in a sort of obvious way to look at the horse's shoe and then sort of beckons Perrin over to come listen. Like he's not just coming to Perrin and talking to him. He's sort of like coaxing him over super, super clumsily. And Perrin's like, God, no one picks up a horse's foot like that unless they want to get kicked in the face. Like everything he's doing is wrong. But I thought, well, at least, he's trying. He's trying his hand at subterfuge. They're all still learning, the Chaffiel.
It's I've been kicked by a horse while picking up a hoof to clean out. It's painful.
This explains a lot.
No, like not in the. I wasn't kicked in the head. I think it was
straight to the dome.
No, I copped it right on the back of the leg, on the hamstring.
Hey, nah.
Because you stand back, you bring your hand down to the hock, release the tension, and none of you's done this.
I don't
what
know
am
that.
I talking about, yes.
No,
and then when you do get the horse to kink its leg, you put it between your legs and you start cleaning out. Horses that are unshoed just needs a nail cut every now and then. These were horses on Mandy's farm back in the day in Humansdorp.
I just finished watching season 5 of Yellowstone. I know. I am a cowboy now. I know everything there's about horses, cattle.
You're a cattle rustler now.
I am. All I want to do is to go live on a ranch.
You remind me right
ride
now
horses
of
every day.
Kif going into Mars and acting like a rancher.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Amy's
Yep.
family, yeah.
I've
Bugalo
got
Rome.
2 more points here before we can move on. One is
Bugalo
just
Rome.
I love how decisive Perrin is with the Aes Sedai. So, like, no matter how much scowling the warders are doing in the background, Perrin just says, "I said no, and I mean no." Fall in line.
Yeah.
That's it. At the end of the day, they swore fealty. Like, they have to listen.
Yes, they promised Rand that they would listen. Yeah.
Yeah, to Rand, but still.
Chain of command is
And
chain
Rand
of
said, listen
command.
to me, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Berelain is making it super obvious that there's a rift between her and Anura, and that it's up to Anura to bridge the gap. And I just thought it was funny because while I was preparing for this chapter, like, I'm busy reading a book with my 9-year-old daughter, and in the story there are 2 girls that are going through a similar thing, and they figure it out.
Yeah.
Like children figure it out. So
Children can do it.
Yeah, go on, Berelain, Anura, let's go. Do you guys remember why there's a rift between them?
I don't remember what I had for breakfast.
This is not from long ago.
No, we did. I remember talking about this just recently. Oh, she was sending letters. She didn't tell Berelain about that letter. Or
Anura
something.
was going into Massima's camp.
Yes.
She was spotted going to the camp. And Berelain didn't know this. Perrin told Berelain. Berelain's like, what? Anura's going into the camp? And then since then she's had
That's
this
where
like,
her
okay,
smell
I'm going to get to the
changed
bottom of this.
to
Yes.
uncertain, like doubtful,
Yeah.
and all of that. And it's
In that
also
meeting
a point.
I
I think it's almost
before the
there
Dark
where there
Hounds.
was like really a change between her and Perrin. Like he
It's
alerted
where we
her to
spent some time
something.
talking about it. Like in that episode, I was talking about it quite a lot because he already, like, he can smell that she's just quietly determined when she comes up to him, and she believes all the stuff she's saying when she like G's up all the men again because they're getting despondent about the Darkhounds. When she's acting that they're flirting to avoid attention from what they're actually talking about, he senses that she is being honest and not actually flirting with him. She's just being clever. And that's when he can't believe his own senses. And I'm going, just, your senses are always right. Just believe them, you idiot.
Trust your gut.
That's our next T-shirt. Despondent about Darkhounds. That's how I feel about Darkhounds. Is there any other feeling?
I have a feeling I feel like doing the last chapter for this episode, which is chapter 28, A Cluster of Rosebuds. Joe, please enlighten us with a summary of this budding romance.
Yeah, very good, Martz. Very good. I start this summary with Matt. It's Matt. He's back. And I don't know why it's to the Flintstones theme, but that's the only thing that works.
Is that the Flintstones?
I tried
The only thing.
the only thing. Matt. There we go. Better.
Got it in
Matt
two.
is having a hard time. You got Matt now. You know we're talking about Matt.
It's Matt.
He's having a hard time traveling with Luca's grand traveling show. It's cramped. It's raining. He is with a bunch of people that don't like him and don't listen to anything he says ever. And all he's trying to do is help him and keep him alive. But nobody listens to Matt. In the beginning of this journey, they pressed hard. They put a lot of distance between themselves and Ibrudar. But now Luca's greed, this is Luca we're talking about, has made him slow down and do more and more shows. Every fly speck flea-ridden town that he comes across where he thinks he can get 2 coppers, he's stopping to do a show. And even after Matt paid him a fortune to make up for all the lost shows, he's still like, no, what you paid me for shouldn't cover half of this. Won't even cover my horses and blah, blah, blah. So now he's stopping all the time, so it's taking for fucking ever to get anywhere. Also, weather not helping. Vannon is there too. Don't forget Vannon is there. We've got a bunch of red arms. Gorderin and Fergan. I don't know if we've spoken about them before.
We have.
All right. Another 2 red arms. They are guarding the women, meaning Tuon, Selusha, the Suldam, the Aes Sedai, everybody. You got to keep an eye on them because they don't listen, as you know. So I doubt Mistress Anand needs guarding, but she's there too. She's made herself sort of a chaperone to the Sean-chan and joined forces with Selusha. They have like a weird... Because she's supposed to be keeping an eye on her, but they have like a kind of friendship going because they're both level-headed women of authority. They've come across many Sean-chan on this journey, most heading to Ilion. There's a lot of that in this chapter, finding out where all the Sean-chan are heading. But only twice have they been stopped for inspection, and with Luca's warrant, they always seem to get sent on their way. No one ever bothering to check whether the actual numbers of horses match what's written on the warrant. Was the warrant from Suroth? Where did he get this warrant from? I'm pretty sure it was Suroth. And I don't think he knows Tuon is Tuon. That's the whole point. That's why she's still, in hiding. It
must be Suroth.
He doesn't know who he's got with him.
And I don't think they're getting bugged because the land is now taken over by the Sean-chan. So they take over, instill law. It's like kind of like now you'll just turn to us. So it's peace and prosperity.
Yeah,
onwards.
But the idea is that all the horses have been requisitioned by the army. So you're not allowed to, like, when they see a whole bunch of horses, they're like, hey, what are you doing with horses? And then, yes, that's why he's got the warrant to show, like, hey, man, Suroth said it's okay, I have these horses. But he's got way more horses than the warrant says because he's traveling with Matt and Pips is there. And
maybe they can't count.
Anyway.
Like, I mean, maybe counting even is a skill that
they could do a lot of things, the Sean-chan, but except counting. That's their weak spot. Possibly. All right. One day, I've written one stay. That's obviously not my fault. One day, outside a small town called Wiesen, Matt watched the two Aes Sedai sneak back into the camp from exploring the town at night. The medallion going cold against his chest, confirming that at least one of them was channeling. So he told them to stay out of sight, but now they are wandering through the towns, channeling on top of it. They are always, of course, closely followed by the Suldam, who feel it's their duty to keep an eye on these Marith Damane. So there's three of them. You remember Bethaman, Renna, and the other
Seta.
one. Yeah, well, I speak about them. Seta, that's right. That is Seta, correct. While he's busy watching them in the rain at night, Noel appears behind Matt to wonder out loud what they were up to, scaring the bejesus out of Matt. Noel's a sneaky guy. He is still very good. Matt doesn't hear him coming at all. Matt decides to head over to the Aes Sedai's wagon to give them a dressing down, and along the way, Noel, the wise, disappears when he finds out they're heading to Aes Sedai wagon.
Nah,
He's like,
not interested in that.
I don't want to be there. That's a hard pass from me, sir. Matt notices the warders, Beleric and Fen. They're wrapped up in their cloaks under the wagon, but they offer no resistance. One of them sits up. I think it's Beleric. Sits up to see him, but never says anything. No resistance. Matt enters the wagon unannounced, as is his way, to find a chilly reception in a warm, cozy little wagon. He challenges them on their stupidity of going into the town and the channeling, knowing they are here you're in the witness protection program, basically. But they push back, of course. Edicina will do as she pleases. She is Aes Sedai, not his servant. Thank you for saving us, but our gratitude only goes so far. They were careful to hide their faces, and there were no Sean-chan in the village anyway, so you don't need to get your panties in and out. Everything's cool.
Don't they get a silver bracelet? Then they'll learn.
Yeah. Bethaman is very keen on that.
Really put a bracelet on.
That's her solution to all of that.
We can control them. Just give us one of those things.
Yeah. Bethaman was there because, remember, the Suldam are following them, making sure they don't get into any more trouble. She says, yeah, confirmed. We were there as well. There's no Sean-chan. What they say is true. And praises them for being good little Marith Damane. Matt has to focus when he's listening to her, as she's the hot one, if you remember. She's always wearing dresses that she's almost spinning out of.
Yeah. I mean...
Bethaman. Renna is the one that's always bowing and scraping and trying to please him all the time. She offers to collar them again. Here it is. Didn't take long. To keep them from causing any more trouble. That would be the best idea, Matt. You should listen to me. Much to the shock of the Aes Sedai, of course. But Matt is quite quick to turn the offer down and tells them as well to give him the collars, to dispose of them, just so that they don't cause any more shit. But later on with the chapter, we discover that they never really get around to giving him these collars. There's always something that comes up.
Oh, it's so deep below my chest at the moment.
I thought I had it in this chest, but it might be in another chest.
I'll go check the horse saddle. I don't know what horse I rode in on.
There's a whole bunch of things. The horses are all mixed up. Everything's smelly. That's the reason. Teslin is there as well, remember. Did find out that there were Sean Chan soldiers. It is very difficult to say, hey? In town yesterday, asking about strangers on the road and other soldiers being sent north. Strangers on the road? That's us. They know it. They also found out that they expect to take Ilion by spring. Lots of rumors about lots of Sean Chan moving towards Ilion. Matt takes that as good news. Teslin's not so stoked because she is Ilionan by birth, but he's like, no, I don't mean it's good they take Ilion. It's good that they're going that way and not our way. We're heading up north to Lugard. It's going to be fewer Sean Chan. That can only be a good thing for us.
Absolutely.
Bethaman tells him that back in Ibrudar, come to think of it, that's what all the buzz was about. Ilion. Like when we were hanging out with all the soldiers and whatnot, we heard lots about Ilion. A fat land, a rich land for the taking. And if Matt has any questions, they'll be happy to answer them. They didn't think that was of any importance until right now. Renner pipes up with a deep bow again, suggesting he use them, the Suldam that is, to spy in the towns, as these Aes Sedai girls are too shifty.
She hasn't wrong.
I've written here, not wrong. And these Aes Sedai are particularly shifty. But as usual, it's Matt that gets the glares from the Aes Sedai about all of these comments, not the Suldam. Everyone's staring at him. He tells them that what he really wants is for, and I've written here in all caps, to stay in the fucking wagons. I've over-exaggerated because I think that's what he should have said. It might have worked. Probably not.
It's like me trying to get my 6-year-old girl just to do the things at home. It's like, I hear what you're trying to argue, but just please do as I've asked you. Like, it's time to get ready for bed. Just brush your teeth. David, I want to wander. I want to this. It's like, no, stay in the wagon. Listen to my English words that's coming out of my mouth.
Maybe he's speaking the old tongue again, and that's why they don't understand him. He didn't even realize it. But no, he is speaking the common tongue, and they are not listening. And that's why the Suldam treat them like children, because they don't listen. They are acting like children. To the Suldam, these girls are unruly, and they need to be collared again. Just for keep them under check, not to use them as weapons or anything.
A reminder.
Slavery to them, it's good in some cases.
It's good for them.
Twice. Yeah. Over the coming days, it becomes clear that no one gave a shit about what he wanted, as the Aes Sedai continue to skulk around outside the wagons and go into every town that they pass for hours on end, channeling willy-nilly. Twice they come hurtling back from a town filled with Sean Chan. They were also always together, the three of them, and always followed by the Suldam. Bethaman being the leader, clearly, of these Suldam group. But both groups always gave him a report about what they found, and they were mostly the same. So he's like, all right, they're coming back with individual aspects, interpretations, but same information, so it must be. More settlers, this is what they're finding out. More settlers being diverted to Ilion was the most common theme from these reports. One of the rumors being that Suroth had made an alliance with someone to give her access to many lands. So Suroth is alliancing herself with somebody? Mm-hmm. Allying is the word, actually.
Yes.
To give her access to many lands. And she's a dark friend, so I would assume she is allying with a Forsaken of some kind that's giving her access to lands. I don't know who she's talking about.
I also
Any
wondered,
ideas?
and some people on the internet thought maybe she's talking about, or they're misconstruing a ruler with Masima.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a big army. So maybe Suroth is
Perhaps.
intimating that she's feeling sort of assured that she's got assistance because she's got some kind of arrangement with Masima.
She really doesn't know how to pick a horse in a race, does she?
No.
No. Anyway, Matt's relying on info from the Aes Sedai and the Suldam because his usual go-tos are preoccupied at the moment. Tom is either playing Snakes and Foxes with Olva, or he's rereading a creased letter that he keeps in his coat pocket close to his heart. and reads over and over and over again with reverence. We know, of course, what that letter is, but new readers at this point
It's actually cool now, but there wasn't
this?
a reference to the seal on that letter, what color the wax was.
Two references.
Blue.
And
With
two
blue
colours.
Red.
It was blue. But first it was red. And then in the next book it changed to blue. That's time. That's what happens to wax. The pigments in the wax deteriorate
Of
over
course.
time.
Yes.
It's raining, the moisture gets in. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
You should know this about wax
Sorry,
seals.
you make a joke, but that's a very plausible thing. If you lay it against something that's black leather, perhaps the red takes on the black, but it looks blue to the eye.
Yeah. Right. Depends on whose point of view it is. Perhaps they're colorblind. That's another reason. Yeah, I know all about that. Anyway, the seal's broken now because he's read it 1 million times. Don't worry about the seal. Also, Julian, the old thief catcher scoundrel, he's occupied with Thera, who clings to him. So it's a droll op 'n wolkomberg is the only way to say it.
No, you said right. It's cock op 'n wolkomberg.
The way I heard it was droll, which translates to a shit on a wool carpet for our non-Afrikaans speaking.
No,
it just
a wool
sounds so much
blanket.
funny. That's what I said. I said carpet.
No, you said a
Oh.
carpet.
I wrote carpet, but it's blanket. Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to update my notes, even though I'll never use them again. It has to be, the text has to be true. Plus, she's still terrified, Thera that is, of Seanchan. And since she won't leave Julian's side, every time he goes out anyway, she's with him to gather intel. She'd spill the beans in a second if a Seanchan soldier said one word to them. She would just flat out lie down and just give up everything. So Matt has found another wiry old man to do his snooping for him in good old Noel, whose now main job it is to spy on the spies. So when Julian and Tom are out there, he's keeping an eye on them, especially Thera. He even offers to take Thera out of the picture if Matt wants. Matt's like, whoa, no, let's not do that. And he's just, I'm just asking, she is a liability. If you say no, then it's no. No worries. I didn't mean anything by it. But Julian has also brought back some information, regardless of his impediment. He's also heard about Suroth making an alliance with some king, he's heard, and that the settlers have all been sent east. All signs point to a major offensive against Ilion soon. Matt's been sharing a wagon with Egianan and Domon. Because if you remember, him and Egianan are posing as lovers, fleeing a vengeful Seanchan husband-lord, blah, blah, blah. That's the whole backstory. But, of course, Domon is not going to leave Egianan's side, so he and Matt have been taking turns sleeping on the second bunk. This is only a 2-bunk wagon that they have. They did try flipping a coin to choose every time, but Matt's always gave him the bed. So they stopped that. And now they just take turns. Of course, Edgy always gets the other bed. Matt's trying to convince her to come and help him with Tuon. He's like, I need an in. You're Seanchan. You're of the blood. You can help me navigate this pit of vipers that is Seanchan nobility. And she needs to face her anyway. You need to go face her. Face your fears kind of a situation. And Matt needs to smooth things over. I suppose because of all the kidnapping. That might be one of the reasons he needs to do it.
And offending.
And she can help him. There's lots of that. Offending is par for the course here with him. So Egianan reluctantly agrees. So off they go to Tuon's wagon. They pass Harnan. He's on guard duty. So we got some more red arms popping up every now and then. And Matt pushes Edgy into the wagon ahead of him. Again, not knocking. It's not his style. And again, it's more crowded than he expects inside. He wasn't invited. He didn't knock. Well, Matt style. Tuon is playing snakes and foxes with Olva on the floor. Noel is in there too, so that's where he disappeared to. Zoning out. He's just told a story, having told a marvelous story about the Ayad in Shara. And Matt's like filling their heads with nonsense. No, true fact. Everything he said was true. Selusha and Satel are there too, of course. That little power couple. Just then, Noel remembers something from the prophecies of the dragon, and I have it here on the Kindle, which is now shut down because I left it too long. Hang on. Swipe to unlock. Hang on. It's coming. All right. Fortune rides like the sun on high with the fox that makes the ravens fly. Luck his soul the lightning his eye. He snatches the moons from out of the sky. I mean, clearly talking about him. And Tuon. He dismisses Noel before anyone else puts 2 and 2 together. And by anyone else, I mean Tuon. He means as well. Like, he doesn't need any more people knowing that he is related to the dragon and he's in the bloody prophecies. Everybody, all right, out. Time to go. Tuon chides Matt for being rude. He's just kicked everybody out. He didn't knock. He is rude. Calling him Toy. She's rude too. But she does agree that it's time for Oliver to be off to bed. He gives him his best leg, and Matt thinks, I taught him that. And then normally Oliver would give a sneaky smile as well, and Matt wonders, who the hell taught him that? Yes.
When I find out who's teaching him this.
Yeah, I'll rub their ears. Scrub. What is the expression about ears?
Box.
Anyway.
Pull the ears. Box
their ears.
It's something like drub. Drub their ears. That is a word, I promise.
Is that when you put dubstep headphones on them and you drop
yeah,
that's their ears?
No, it's a dry rub that you use on your aged beef.
Ooh, rub their ears.
Dry rub?
It's very heavy with paprika. Yeah. So, anyway, yes, when they are out, because they've all been dismissed, she asks Toy why he is interrupting her. He's there to check on her, just here to check in, see how you are. It's very cramped. It's been raining. You've been inside this. She's been inside the wagon 24/7 the entire journey. The Aes Sedai, they've been sneaking out, but not her. And he's got a gift for her, and he gives her a necklace of gold and carved amber. Tuon inspects it. Selucia sneers, and Satel just shakes her head at this foolish fool. And he's like, what? What's going on? What did I do wrong? Tuon then throws the necklace over her shoulder at Selucia, offering it to her because it wouldn't suit Tuon. Selucia is none too impressed with it either and throws it at Edgy. Edgy's there, by the way. She's been standing quietly in the corner, terrified, and orders her to put it on. She does. Selucia then orders her to model it. Turn around, show us. She does. Tuon then pipes up saying that Edgy came for a new name. That's what she came for. Tuon then names her Leolwyn Shipless.
Yo.
This is a big thing. You are now no longer of the blood of any kind. Everything you've achieved, gone. I am the be-all and end-all. This is the end of your days, basically. Edgy Annie begs to leave, but Tuon makes her go down on her face and beg more before it's a whole thing. Matt's like, you don't have to ask her permission. Just leave if you want to leave. And everyone's just ignoring Matt, which is what they do.
As per usual.
Yes, and before allowing it to go, she adds as well that that Edgy will not show her face again to them unless it is covered with a sheer dancer's veil. So they're really taking her down several thousand.
It's like
pegs,
an insult that you got to dress like a stripper or something.
You got to dress like a stripper from now on because the necklace reminds her of something that a stripper would wear, basically.
So it's the 90s version of, you ain't coming back until you're wearing high heels that's transparent.
Basically. So, Selucia tries to dismiss Matt as well, calling him Toy, and he pushes back because this is had enough now. He's like, listen, yeah, my name is Matt. Not Toy, Matt. Simple name. Again, everyone ignores him. Satel has to eventually intervene to get him to leave, and he does. Eventually. Outside, he meets Edgy Annie and berates her for acting so submissively. Like, what are you doing? You know, like, you don't have to listen to Selucia. She's just a lady's maid. So she has to explain this whole Sojourn thing to him again. Saying that none of the low blood or even the high blood would even look Selucia in the eye. But now she is of no blood, so it doesn't really matter, does it? Thanks a lot, Matt, for taking me along. That really helped my situation. Taking the necklace off, she hurls it into the night. There goes your necklace that could have bought him a dozen fine horses, apparently. And he's like, well, fuck, there goes that necklace. It's dark, it's in the bushes, I'm never going to find it. Also, he doesn't need to. He could just go gamble one night and make it all back. Seeing how Edgy Annie behaved around Tuon, he makes a mental note to never allow the Suldom anywhere near her. So, first attempt at wooing Tuon, a great failure. Back to the drawing board. He needs a new strategy. He's back the next night, sans Edgy Annie, and inveigles his way into a game of stones. I learnt a new word too. Yes. To inveigle your way, you know what it means. You can figure that out yourself. So before he can figure out if he should let her win, he's thinking like, I don't know, playing games like with women. Some women like you to let them win. Others like a more game. And before he can even figure it out, she's kicked his ass. He looks down at the board and you can see in like 20 moves, he's done. She's already planned his defeat. He's like, well, that didn't work out too well. Tuon tells him he isn't a very good player, is he? So he takes his leave to try again another night. One game is all it took. The next night, he's back, and the gloves are off. He starts by bringing a small red paper flower and presents it to a very startled Selusha. Skips over Tuon completely. The unexpected throws your opponent off guard. He is coming at them from all angles.
Battle strategies.
Right. So, battle strategies from long dead generals. He comes back night after night, and the second time he comes back, he wins 4 out of 7 games. Tuon is good, and she enjoys the game. He sees a different side to her when she's playing. She's more relaxed and open. The next night, he brings Selusha a blue linen flower, and 2 days later, it's a pink silk blossom, all made, just in case you want to know, by one of the show's seamstresses, not by him. He didn't just develop this talent suddenly. So Selusha is getting more and more suspicious at every gift. Eyebrows rising, foul browering. I can't use words today. But Tuon tells her she can keep them all, and she packs them away very carefully. She takes very, very good care of them. She appreciates the gifts. Matt then brings no gifts for 3 nights. Waha! Surprise!
Surprise, motherfuckers.
Until he shows up with a
Cluster of
red silk rosebuds. Selusha takes a step forward to accept them, but surprise! Matt sits down and places them near Tuon, next to the stones board. Just pushes her slightly towards her and says nothing, doesn't look at them, and not another word. Time for some games. Well, other games.
The games is already started.
Different games. Tuon studies him for a moment, and then she tells him she's changed her mind. He plays very well. Matt has a moment of panic. Is she onto me? And I'm thinking, didn't you want her to be? This is so obvious what you're doing. like she's going to figure it out. And that night, they play to their first draw. Tuon uses this moment to remind Matt that she has kept her word about not attempting to escape, and that she wants to take walks at night. She's been confined inside this wagon for too long, and he may have the pleasure of accompanying her to make sure that she doesn't run away. He goes, at night, hooded? Yeah, fine, cool. Sounds good enough. You have kept your word. Satel, I've written here Seattle, but just notice, I assume it's Satel, looks up from her book to look at him. Selusha looks at him, and he gets the sinking sensation he's losing control of the situation. But he agrees. So they start chaperoned walks at night, because of course Selusha's there, and where Selusha goes, Satel and Nan goes. He tells her about the 2 rivers, about his family, and that his dad is a horse trader. And when she asks what he does for a living, he says he's a gambler. Tuon tells him her father was also a gambler, and he died of a bad wager. Nudge, nudge. One night he asks her what she does for fun. She says, well, you spoke of horses. I train horses too. And Damane. And he's like, oh, shit. You put horses and Damane in the same group of things you do for fun and training? He's a bit freaked out by the Damane training, so he focuses on the horse training part. But Tuon shifts the conversation to him being a scoundrel, according to Satel. She's been warned about his womanizing ways.
Shenanigans.
And asks how many shenanigans, and asks him how many women he's kissed. Now it's his turn to shift the conversation to the weather, of course.
Smooth.
Looks like rain coming. Like there hasn't been raining for the last 2 months. And looks like rain coming, and Selusha will have his hide if he brings her back soaked. This earns him his first little laugh from Tuon. One day, he's sitting outside his wagon with Ejiani, and everyone walking by gives him the stink eye. There's rumors been going around the traveling show. His nightly walks with Tuon have gone viral, and he is supposed to be in a relationship with Egianin, and now he's messing around with... So he is a scoundrel. The biggest scoundrel of them all. Everyone in the camp now thinks he's a scoundrel too. No one will even talk to him.
knows he's a scoundrel.
Well, Matt, you got what you wanted. No one's bothering you.
And just be reminded, Eludra's also still in that traveling menagerie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. God forbid he go talk to her. So, yeah. One day, I've read that. Edgy asks him if he's fool enough to believe that Tuon will complete the ceremony. And he's like, ceremony?
Complete?
What ceremony are you talking about? Complete it? Now Matt realizes that Tuon knows what he's up to and is playing along. So for 2 nights, he stays away from her wagon. So the ceremony being that to get married in Seanchan society, you have to say, I want to marry you like 3 times, and then the woman has to say it 3 times as well, and you're done.
Within a year.
But sometimes
within a year,
a year and a day.
Year and a day.
A year and a day. But with
the exact same
with the high
time
blood,
a Gaishain has to do their duty.
Must be some old school throwbacks, yeah. But with the blood, sometimes they don't even have to be in the same thing. They don't have to say it to each other. Just have to say it in front of witnesses because they're on the other sides of the country. It's an arranged marriage. One says it 3 times, and the other one in a different city says it 3 times, and then it's done. And he realizes this is where he realizes his goose is cooked. She's on the same path that he is. So yeah, that's the night he stays away for 2 nights. The show eventually arrives at the ferry across the river Eldar. So now they've crossed the whole of Altara, and they're at the border of Ilion. I was looking at my map to find out, but this is so tiny. But there is a river there. Mm-hmm. And they have to take the ferries across. To find, as well, when they arrive, they find that both of the dock towns on either side of the river where the ferry docks have been taken over and fortified by the Seanchan. There are soldiers everywhere. There are Rakan in the air. There are those cat things. Mm-hmm. Cat horses.
Worm?
Lopar.
Yeah, there's Lopar. The horses went bananas when they saw some of those Lopar. Took them days to calm down the horses. Anyway, so, I mean, this is a pretty major Seanchan operation going on right now. And Luca, of course, sees all these people and wants to stop and put on a show. And Matt's like, God damn it. This is the last place we need to stop, Luca. Matt crosses first on the ferry, barge, whatever, and watches in horror as Selusha and Tuon cross on the front of their wagon. They're outside the wagon, sitting on the front. Now, in broad daylight, obviously, but credits where credits due. They are hooded, and Tuon completely covered in a cloak. Hands, head, toes, everything covered. She looks like a little child next to her mother. So they do get away with it. But Matt's heart is in his throat the whole time that they are crossing, walking through the streets. I mean, of the town, Seanchan everywhere, everyone looking at them because they are a traveling menagerie. So everybody's like, hey, look at that. There's horses, there's elephants, there's lions, there's performers. So yeah, everyone's staring at them. But Tuon never says a word or shows her face or head until they are well clear of the town limits. And that's when Matt knows he's truly fucked now. She's going to go through with it. They're going to be married. But I thought that's what you want. Mm-hmm. But I suppose men are weird. That night, Matt makes sure that all the Seanchan stay in their wagons. And no one argues this time. For once, they listen to what he says. She does, however, Tuon this is, make a request, which is more of an order, that Matt needs 3 days to think on before agreeing to. And when he does, the dice stop rolling in his head. We don't find out what she requested or demanded.
Not.
And that's the end of the chapter. No.
Okay.
Do you have an idea?
Can't remember. It's now 5 months ago that I read this book, so I can't remember.
I don't think so. I think we will find out in the next book.
Find out next.
Okay. Well, for us, 2 books from now.
That's the end of that. Well, whatever she asked him, when he agreed to it, dice stopped rolling in his brain. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When did the dice start rolling?
I feel like they're almost rolling.
Can't be this chapter.
Back in the day when they left, the dice was rolling already. It's been
they've stopped.
rattling in his head.
Like They were rolling, and then they stopped, and then they started rolling in, and they stopped, and then they started rolling again. Like it was.
There's a lot of stopping and starting.
Well, he's with
when
Tuon
he's in the
now,
presence of Tuon.
which is probably why I can't remember who it was. Sorry to our listener who put in the theory that the dice rolls were specific to Tuon. But I mean, you can see why someone would think that because there's a lot of.
It does seem that
it,
now. Yeah. This does support that theory.
Yeah. Bill, did you have anything that you wanted to say about A Cluster of Rosebuds?
Just a feel-good chapter.
Mm.
It is Matt dealing with Matt-ish situations.
Yes, constantly.
Girls won't listen. Alva won't listen. Tom won't listen. Julian won't listen. No one will listen. Everyone is they're acting like they're part of the menagerie.
Always
That
learning bad habits from people. Noel keeps sneaking up on him, like it's like all this this
Offering to murder people.
consistent
offering
Matt
to
stuff.
off people.
Yeah. Still some red arms lurking in the dark always.
Our lives are at stake. Any slip up and we will all be killed, and all these Aes Sedai will be collared, and everything will go to shit. And everybody's like, it'll be fine.
I'm not listening to you.
Down.
Scout.
Go
Aes Sedai,
channel
we'll
in
just
the
walk around
town.
outside channeling.
Yeah. The Aes Sedai are
cool.
extremely short-sighted, right? Like, I mean, they do take risks, which is not what we expect from people with that level of experience. They're all old, right? Like most of them
And especially these three. They have been collared. They know what awaits them if they slip up.
Mm-hmm.
And still they go. I mean,
Yeah,
that
still they
just,
go.
that's just awesome.
I could see where the Suldam are coming from.
Hey,
But
These
it's gross.
girls
It's,
I don't want to
very
say I agree
unreliable.
with Rena and Seta and them, but,
oh well.
sometimes you got to put that peg on the wall and the other part on the neck and they'll stay inside the trailer.
Well, Joe, you've finished this book already. You know that one of those Suldam
Yeah.
is going to get a little bit of a little bit of medicine
Wake up call.
in the very next chapter. Yes.
It'll come up and yes.
Something.
Billy, you finished the book too.
Not quite. I got to the end of it, and no, I did.
Generally,
Yeah, I
that's
did.
considered finishing.
Yes. Yes.
I got to the end
You
of it.
get to the
Yes.
end. It's done.
No, it's just because you listen and sometimes you just don't listen. So I'm traveling and you're kind of like, okay, I don't have to pay as much attention because it's not in the near future of discussion. And then I also
Did you hear about Egwene's capture?
Yes, no, the whole harbor, the trying to turn the chains to Quendia, all that goes down.
Basically,
and
all
then
that happens
captured.
after that is Bashir coming back and saying, okay, they've agreed to meet.
Yep.
You need
And
to
that's
meet the
the
daughter
Shongshan.
of the 9 Moons. Yeah.
The
There's no reason
daughter
it
of the
is.
9 Moons in
Or Forsaken
quotes.
Cimarog, the most powerful and cruelest of all the Forsaken. Female, anyway. Yeah. What else did I have for this chapter? I still can't remember why they're traveling to Lugard, but I guess that's up to Valan Luca, and he just wants to go make some more money. there
wherever
and
the
on
money
way.
in his nose leads him.
I like how they describe a big top tent, basically, like one tent to hold
Yeah.
the whole show. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I also laughed at Matt, his disguise. When he walks to town, he's thinking, oh, these women, they don't know anything, but they're exposing themselves. At least when he goes to town, he pulls up his collar and he pulls down his cap. Master of disguise,
Yeah,
Matt
the old
Cawthon.
Wheel of Time disguises, yeah.
He also thinks that his gold was all honestly come by through gambling, at which he has
Yes.
like a serious cheat code.
Oh, you roll the dice and they fall. It's not like he's blowing them or they're magnetized. That's cheating.
Yeah,
Okay.
I suppose. Magic is not cheating, apparently.
No, but he
Dark
doesn't
Knight,
magic. He doesn't channel.
Reality twisting powers.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. So, Tuon being able to train Damani, does that mean she can channel?
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
It's brought up in this book.
Mhm.
I think in the next chapter.
Yeah.
She does not like to hear that.
There was a sort of throwaway comment about Egwene avoiding being alone with Bail Domon.
Yes. I skipped over that because I don't know what it means.
Why? I also don't know, so I can only speculate. It didn't seem like it was part of their ruse about her only being seen with Matt and not with Bale, who's her actual partner. It seemed like she was genuinely avoiding him.
Her being made John shipless.
Lelwyn.
It was before
demotion.
It's before that.
Was
It's
it before or
Matt
after
takes
that?
her to.
Yeah.
It's
as because she agrees to go with him, like it seems like she just wants to get out of the wagon away from Domon. That's why she agrees to go with him right then and there.
He's probably just
Maybe
trying to
it's
Maybe
the
convince
Bale's
brain of-
getting a little bit like clingy, and she just
all
can't
three of us
bear
with
it
a different
anymore.
theory at the same time.
Well, like they cooped up in that wagon together, and Domon's wife is pretending to be in love with another man who's in the cabin with him all the time. Like it's wearing on him, I would imagine. I would not like to be in that situation either.
Absolutely. I also feel like...
and as soon as Matt leaves, I'm going to have a word with my wife.
I feel like Domon is also...
This shit has to stop.
Often trying to sort of like smooth things over between the two of them. He's telling Matt, just listen to her. She's a captain. Like, don't... countermand her all the time. And he's probably the same time saying to Egwene, and like, just listen to him. He's a good guy. And like, I've faced Trollocs and stuff with him, like you can trust in him. Like, stop trying to boss him around. So maybe he's trying to advise her in that way, and she's getting sick of it. Or like Willie says,
maybe
she's feeling
He's
some kind of
just so
shame.
insecure with all of this, then he wants to, the minute Matt's gone, be clingy and like, oh, I hope you're not falling in love with him. Like, sometimes acting leads to real things, and do you still like me? And being totally insecure, but that doesn't play into his personality, so I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, and you didn't do the accent right at all.
It's
How do you do that in an alien accent?
It'd be very uncomfortable.
I do be clingy.
I do be
I need to hold my hand.
There's another little throwaway thing. Here's my last note. When Noel mentions the prophecy of the dragon, Matt starts seeing the swirling colors, but instead of it resolving into a picture, it suddenly goes away. And even Matt thinks like, this time it didn't resolve into a picture, or like he couldn't see a face or anything. I was just wondering, like, I wonder why it was different this time. Why did it go away?
I'm
Well,
thinking that just
think
the
of
prophecy of the
Perrin
dragon reminded him
or
of
Rand.
Rand.
Well, that was the trigger for it.
But he didn't carry on the thinking. He stopped thinking. So I think Matt has that ability to just stop thinking. And then it went away.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe
if
he
that's a
didn't
thing
think
that they
about
can
Rand.
do.
It started with a prophecy, but it goes to the foxes and the crows. So, I mean, this is from the prophecy of the dragon. Quick think of Rand, and then he says, fox, crows, steals the moon, and he's like,
Snaps him
that
back.
picture goes like, what the heck? Everyone get the fuck out of here. No. No one can hear the shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever something's like not how it normally is, like it's called out, like, oh, but this time it's different. My first question is why? But that could be it. Like maybe because it pertains specifically to him and Tuon, it like snaps his attention back. I didn't get the sense that they can opt out of these events. Like it happens to them often at very inopportune times, and they are unable to prevent it from happening. So, don't know.
It's at that moment when you bump a record player and the needle goes across the vinyl. It's like
Needle scratch.
It's like whoa, needle scratch, and the whole picture disappears. And
I've used the needle scratch on this show before.
needle
I
scratch.
recall that. Showing your age.
No, you don't
Vinyl
listen to the
record
podcast,
player.
Jody.
I don't.
It's a long time ago. I think Jody was still listening when I used it. Okay, that's it from me. Anything else from that last chapter?
No.
All you want to do now is tell me your favorite moment, right? Jody?
Yes, I do. I would love to.
Let's put Jody on the spot.
No, Billy, go first.
No.
Jody's not on a spot. Jody's got a spot. I don't want to steal it from perhaps Billy,
Okay.
who prepared one.
Okay.
I just kind of like thought of one now.
Okay, fair enough. Willie did the hard work. He gets to go first.
It's not very hard work. You just read something and you go like, yeah, I like that. My favorite moment is Perrin discarding his axe. and
It's a big one.
washing his hands from the bloodbath of a sharp object slicing through people, and opting for blunt force trauma next and going
Which
to
seems
a hammer.
even worse.
So much more brutal. And I'm sorry, this is fantasy books and killing is part of them. And he's gonna hammer his first victim into the ground very soon.
Maybe, or I just had a thought and then I immediately discounted it. I was going to say maybe he's like sort of turning the Aiel way, where like, you know, the weapons need to also be a tool, you know, like they use spears because it can be used for hunting, where a sword is not used for hunting, and the hammer can be used for smithing, but an axe can be used for chopping down trees and wood and stuff. Like that's also
chopping
a tool,
wood,
so
and
never
Yeah,
mind.
there goes that theory.
Disregard that. But yeah, it is cool. It's a pivotal moment for Perrin. I also like that he doesn't have to now like, so, you know, axe versus hammer. Like, which one does he want? I'm glad that's over. We can park that now. It can just be hammer. And now I'm just going to be jonesing for that time when he creates the power wrought hammer. Ooh, that's going to be cool. I remember that scene hitting hard. That was cool.
Yeah.
It's like Thor's hammer is coming.
Mjolnir.
Yes. Stormbreaker, I think, is the second. It's more of a Stormbreaker moment than a Mjolnir, because you don't see Mjolnir being created, but you see Stormbreaker being created.
Doesn't Perrin's hammer have a name that like resembles Mjolnir?
Yes,
Like it's a longer version of the same name.
Stormnir.
That's called Peter.
It's called what?
Peter.
Peter.
Rob.
Peter. Is that what you're saying?
I thought you were saying pedo.
Yeah, but
That's very inappropriate.
Peter in a what's that actor that played in that
Gildan accent.
Mockingbird? Which books? What was that show? Movies?
The Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Yes, that.
Mockingjay.
Yeah, Peter.
Peter.
Oh, that guy. Yeah,
I never read those books. Or
that
saw the
lame
movies.
duck. I saw the first movie. It was fine.
Okay. End of conversation.
All right.
Jody, favorite moment.
Okay, cool story. Yeah. My favorite moment was when the Aiel is being tortured and Perrin kicks the coals off his stomach into
Harry's
Harry.
face.
And Harry shrieks, and then as he stumbles back, falls onto a hot pot and then screams. I like the shrieking and the screaming. That was
From
my
Harry,
favorite part.
specifically.
From Harry specifically.
Yes. I'm also glad, at least I hope, that we don't have to even read about him again. I can't wait for this whole Massima thing to just be
I hope he
put
fell
to
into a
bed.
fire
I
and
do
burnt to
think
death
that
right
he
there.
has been
That's
brought
it.
up this many times that we should probably read of his demise.
Maybe in the attack on Malden he dies.
One can only
Hopefully.
hope. Yeah.
I mean, those guys are involved, right? The Dragon Sworn.
Ooh, they're supposed to be, but then whether they participate, do they pull a white cloak
And
into
probably
Rivers?
turn back on.
They pull a.
Perrin.
They belong with the White Cloaks.
Yeah. My favorite moment is in So Harbor when Perrin wants to inspect the grain and he lifts the bar off the barn door just by himself, and everyone is aghast that yes, he did it A with one hand and B did it at all, and Perrin's like, what? What are you doing? Let's keep moving. Let's keep
This
going.
is how doors are opened.
Yes.
Like,
I get shit done.
yeah.
And then I had an honorable mention, which is the return of Talonvor with the potential of a Seanchan army, even if they are mostly Taraboners. I remember Kerry wrote into the podcast ages ago saying that after she had read ahead, Perrin is the first one that actually forges an actual alliance with the Seanchan, because Rand meets with Semirog and that whole thing turns to shit. So Perrin really is the first one that actually manages to achieve it. And I think we've already read the name of the general that he meets. I'm not going to take a crack at it now. I am going to take a crack at it.
Ready? Read about him much earlier on.
It's not Kareди because he's busy hunting Matt. It's Kylie Kurgan or something like that.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Let's see how close I am. I'll do it in the callbacks. I'll look it up. But also like super well respected general, and can you read from her point of view that Perrin is also respected. Like they see this guy knows what he's about, and they don't immediately want to just he's a I almost said a wetlander, but like the Seanchan equivalent of a wetlander.
Yes.
Slur. They actually do
An
work with him.
oath breaker.
well, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was mine. So to our listeners, send us your favorite moments, your theories, your opinions, corrections, or just say hi. You can do that by going to bloodandashespodcast.com and leaving a text or voice message, or reaching out via any of the social media links in the episode description. Once you've done all of that, you can pull Crossroads of Twilight closer one more time as we prepare for next time on Blood and Ashes, our Crossroads of Twilight finale, where we will cover chapter 29 through to the end of the epilogue, which is 2 chapters and, as Jody said, a little tiny mini epilogue. So I'll cover that one and you guys can do the big chunky chapters that I won't do.
Yay!
Hurrah!
Those chapters are Something Flickers. Willie, that's yours.
Something flickers. That's got a sword and a anchor.
Is it Matt? I think it's where Renna meets her end. And chapter 30 is What the Oath Rod Can Do. And that's you, Joseph. And then I'll do the epilogue, as I said, and then we'll have a discussion of the chapters, pick our favorite moments and all that stuff as we usually do. And then we'll talk about the book as a whole and put this whole slog conversation to bed, hopefully. Willie, like we said before, I'm expecting you to put together this case that you've been working on so we can discuss it at length and really, really get into the nitty gritty, which I am quite looking forward to.
I'm not feeling any pressure at all.
And you shouldn't.
That's why.
It's like when you
shouldn't.
put your hand up for a
fun.
really major task that you've got 4 months to prepare for, and then you spend
suddenly
4 months not doing anything about it, and then you're reminded, like, it's due. I'm doing a Jody.
Yes,
It's the
yes.
best way to do it.
I can't wait for all of that. But until then, I will say to the two of you and all our listeners, sleep well and wake.
Au revoir.
Thank you very much for listening.